Alrighty. Hey, hi everyone. Did you love that music for the past 10 minutes? Welcome to 1000 Black Boys, July 2021. We're in July already. Hope you're doing really, really great. Thank you for being on. Those that came on early and you heard all that music, are you still moving to it? Are you still dancing to it? So that's our theme song. We hope you liked the little promotion. So welcome, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing really, really well. My name is Ademola Adeyeba. So welcome, great to have you here. I'm going to give people some more time to log on and to join us. So thank you to all those that are on already. And feel free to put some things into the chat, say hello, let us know where you're from, and don't be shy. So even though we are virtual, we're not together as we would like to be at the moment. So even though we're virtual, please feel free to comment and to interact, and do not be shy. Don't be shy. So I'm going to share my screen with you very, very shortly. So this is our July 1000 Black Boys event. We do this every couple of months. I've got two screens for those of you that are new to this. So there's two screens. There's the one I'm looking at right here. This one right here. And along this side, just over here, there's also another screen. So if you see me looking away, I'm not being weird. I'm just looking at the other screen over here. Yeah. We've got an incredible lineup of speakers for us today. So I'm looking at that screen again. And I look forward to introducing you to them. For now, let me share this with you. Let's have a look. There we go. Right. So July, let me make this bigger. Let's stop that one there. There we go here. Brilliant. We got full screen. Amazing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. July 2021. We're actually coming to the end of the 7th month of the year. Wow. I hope it's been treating you well. So the name is Ademola Adeyeba. I'm the founder of 1000 Black Boys. Well, actually, with the accents, it's Ademola Adeyeba. So there's a few pronunciations in there that's not in the English language. So Ademola Adeyeba, and I'm the founder of 1000 Black Boys. So thank you as always for being here to join us. Well done for joining us. It's a Saturday afternoon. You could have been doing anything else, but you're here with us. So well done, and thank you very much. So this is our 8th online event. It's our 10th event in total. Before the lockdown, we did 2 events, both actually in Croydon. Not that we live in Croydon or are from Croydon, although people in the team are. It was where we landed, where we had the opportunity to do our events. And since March 2023, so 2020, we've taken our events online. So this is number 10. So for those that are here with us, comment, share this, like this, share this, don't be stingy. So share it with people that are around you on your network that will benefit from what we're doing today. So 1000 Black Boys, who are we? So we are a group of entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, coaches, mentors. We're parents, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, just like you. We're just like you. And the thing for us is we have a real passion. We want to make a real difference. And that's why we do this with our time, to contribute to the community and to those out there that need inspiration at a time like this. And specifically, so as our name, we do have a focus for Black boys and young Black men. And we're really clear that that is a pathway to impacting every single person within society. We know for a fact. We know that when young Black boys, young Black men go out and start new businesses, every single person benefits from their creation. So we want to make that more of a reality. And we're familiar about the media's narrative, much of which we've seen over the last 5-6 weeks, especially a couple of weeks ago. It didn't come home, and then the reaction. We'll talk about that very, very shortly later on as well. So we're familiar about this. We are familiar about the media's perception of Black boys, young Black men. We can see that within society, economically, within the school system, we see it all over the place. And we just didn't want to sit down and just observe. We are definitely about making a difference. We're not about being angry, being afraid or confused. For us, it's very, very different. So yeah, it didn't come home. There was this that we also saw just over 2 weeks, under 2 weeks or so ago. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on how the young people that were impacted by that, how they can respond, what they can do, what they can take from it. We'll go through that very shortly later on. Quick one, a word on racism. I said this in our last event in May. You can ask me more about this later on, but for those of you that are looking at this, always remember that racism is actually not about color. Racism is not about color. It actually isn't. It's the first move of racism was economics. It was economics. If you think about historically what we're all familiar with, the slave trade, it was a trade. And then the first move was financial economics, and then race was used to justify the atrocities that were committed, right? It's something to always remember, because it then allows you to deal with the real thing when it comes to racism. And I'll say more about that later on. And it's not just about some people having money, but that as a community, we have wealth and we have money. It's really, really powerful. If it's just a handful of people, it's not as powerful as a collective having that wealth and that access. So I'm going to show you some articles that show you that things are quite challenging right now. You're familiar with what's going on in the news. I'm not going to go over that in much detail. I'll just pick out a couple of things that I think we should be thinking about and looking at, especially as young Black boys, young Black men, and those who support them. It's something for you to be aware of. And what we're doing today will hopefully support you to transform that and make different choices. So UK youth unemployment rate continues to rise. Young black men are particularly affected. Similar thing based on COVID, the sharp rise in unemployment. I shared some of this in our last session. I also just want to share with you from my personal experience. So I saw the .com bubble burst. Many young ones might not know what that means, but in 1999, when internet really took off, many companies were growing really quickly, and people saw that that's not sustainable. And when those companies crash, it will impact the economy. So there was this big build up to that. There was also a big build up to going from 1999 to 2000. That what happens when it becomes the clocks change to 2000. There was all kinds of stuff about systems are going to crash, planes are going to fall out of the sky. All of this stuff was being discussed in 1999. I remember it. And in 2008, when there was the big crash of 2008, COVID as well from last year and the lockdowns, but we've still pulled through. There was all these challenges. People still pulled through. In the build-up, there was a big build-up. It looked really, really bad. In hindsight, human beings still pulled through. And even in those times, some people's wealth grew. And even in those times, people's characters grew. Things that were difficult happened. Just bear that in mind as we're facing what we're seeing right now from 2020 to 2021, that there's a way to not be stuck in all of this. There's a way to move forward powerfully in all this, and for this month's theme to shine that light. So regardless of all of that, there's a way to still shine. There's a way to still radiate your incredible talent and gifts. So we're going to go through that. And we also want you to see that there are opportunities around. There's people that you can connect with for those opportunities. And we want you to have power when you do that. And like I touched on earlier, we're not about people being angry, afraid, or confused. That is, so those three, so angry, afraid, confused, those are not our things. Those are not our things. Because when you're dealing with being angry, afraid, or confused, a part of your brain called the limbic system is being triggered. So you're now in autopilot and you're angry, you're lashing out. We're not interested in that because there's not much power there. So we're really truly about, as an organization, as a vision, as a team, how we can be calm, focused, and strategic. Because when we're doing that, we can make a real difference. We can produce incredible results. We can grow businesses. We can empower people. We can train people. We can do things that are absolutely unbelievable. So that's our message. That's our goal. That's our game. And yeah, so like I said, so our message is potential, vision, and power. That is what we're about. If you've been watching the news, the media, reading things over the last 16 to 17 months, it's been very gloomy. It's been very negative, very energy sapping. And after a while, it has an impact mentally. It does. It has an impact mentally. It lowers your energy and it takes you out. So we want to give a different message. So one about potential, vision, power. And we want to share with you stories of people that are doing incredible things in these circumstances so you can see what's really possible. Because the people we're going to show you today, some of them, the media probably won't tell you about them, but we are. We're going to do that. And thank you for being on. We're going to do that. Right. Let's have a look back here. And yeah. So let me share this with you, our vision. I can see our next speakers, our first two speakers are literally backstage right now. So let me share our vision with you. Some of you might know about this already because you've been at previous events that we've done. For some of you, it's new. It's okay. Repetition is good. Repetition is good. There's a well-known coach that said that repetition is the mother of skill and the father of mastery. So the more you repeat something, the more skillful and masterful you get with the thing that you're repeating. So we're repeating this vision and sharing it with you, that it connects with you and that you remember it. And that when you are down or you're in a place where you need that support, you know where to come to. You know what to come and look at to inspire yourself. So I'm going to share that with you. And if you've heard this before, please listen newly. You might hear something you hadn't heard before. So our vision, we've got two versions to it. So this is a short version. So our vision, the short version is we exist to inspire Black boys and young Black men to unleash their potential and live a life of purpose. We're clear about that. That is what we're here for. We're also clear when that happens, everybody benefits. Because imagine a young Black boy goes out and starts a new business. And this business now becomes a multi-billion-pound business, unicorn, or unicorn as it's called in financial terms. And that business employs thousands and thousands of people. Who benefits? Everyone benefits. This young Black boy goes out and he goes out with their team and they start a new type of app, for example, that transforms how we know social media. Who's going to use it? Who benefits? Everyone benefits. And what I always used to say is, imagine that a group of young Black boys that used to be in opposing areas come together and they climb Mount Everest. And that story is in the papers. You get inspired by that, everyone. And it's so interesting. One of the speakers today was the first Black British person to climb Mount Everest. I'm looking forward to speaking with him later on today. So that's a short part of our vision. The full part of it is we exist to empower Black boys, or we exist to empower and enable Black boys and young Black men to discover their greatness, to unleash their uniqueness, to innovate, and to create things that have never been done before. We want them to have the audacity to dream big, and in so doing, transform the world. We mean that when we say that. And the speakers you're going to hear today, you're going to start to see that. I promise you that you're going to start to see that. So why now? Why shine that light? Simply because we want to inspire you and empower you today and empower you for the coming months. And the word inspiration means to breathe life into something. So far, I'm going to say the news has been taking life out of lots of people. It's been sapping. So we want to breathe some life into you and into what you are seeing for yourself and your life. And some people out there are doing incredible things. They're doing phenomenal things that you won't get to hear about. We want you to meet them. We want you to be able to say, wow, that looks amazing. That looks incredible. And that's our message for young Black boys, young Black men. So get your notepads and pens ready. You can reach out to these contacts as well. This is being streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. And so please share this, like this, comment with us. Let us know your thoughts. If somebody says something that you think is interesting or you have a question about, or you actually say, actually, I want to challenge that, please let us know. Let's have a conversation. And comment so we know that you are loving this. So I'll go through the agenda with you very, very briefly. And then I always say, have a vision. So powerful to have a vision. It's huge. If you don't have a vision, someone else will give you their vision. So here's the agenda for today. Can I expand this? I'm sure I can. So look. It's about as far as it goes for now. There we go. So this is me here, right there. You can see me. Okay. Let's do it this way. Perfect. And then after that, after this part, we're going to have Jordan, Richard, Hamilton's brothers, got incredible story. So I first heard about this Jordan story about 6-7 weeks ago. I'm part of a boxing banter group where Richard is in. And he shared the link about his brother and what his brother had experienced and what he's doing now. And I was like, whoa, got to bring him on. And I found out what Richard does as well. I'm like, do you know what? Both of you come on and share your story and literally just talk about what you've experienced, what you're doing now, and also how people can connect with you. So I'm looking forward to that. After that, we've got Alfonso. Alfonso is a model, an actor, and a writer. He's on at 4:35, going to be sharing his story with us as well. And after that, we've got Paul, the entrepreneur, the adventurer, who's the first Black British person to climb Mount Everest. He's talking later on today. And I'm going to do a session very, very briefly about missed penalties, motor racing, racism, and how you respond. Basically, how you respond when they, the media, and they throw shade, what you do. And then we've got Dr. Ian Thirlby Campbell speaking right at the end. He's a senior manager for PwC, essentially one of the biggest companies in the world. So the title for that section is How a South London Boy Ends Up Working for One of the Biggest Companies in the World. So we're going to share that with you as well. And then we're going to close. By 7 p.m., this will be done. And this is also recorded so you can come back to it. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to bring on these amazing two people. Are you ready? Go on. Put something in. If you got to put something into the chat, because right now people are just like observing, which is phenomenal. It's great to have you on, but just put some things into the chat. So I want to bring on Jordan and Richard. Let's have a look. Jordan, how are you
doing? I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited for today.
Brilliant. Richard, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You okay?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on. Like a real pleasure to have you both on. I mean, so background for those of you who are listening. So I'm into sports. One of the sports I'm into is boxing. So we've got this boxing banter group where we talk about different things to do with boxing. And interestingly, there's some really powerful people in that group that are doing incredible things. And Richard is one of them. And then he shared this link one time about Jordan. And it was from the Birmingham News. And I thought to myself, what was that?
It's the Birmingham Mail.
Birmingham Mail.
Yep.
And I just thought, wow, that's the message. That's inspiring. We've got to get this guy onto this platform. That was Jordan. And then when I listened and I saw what Richard does, I thought, you know what? Wow, snap. Yeah, you got to be here as well. So, gentlemen, real pleasure to have you both on. And can I just literally just throw it open? Like literally, we'll start with you, Richard, if that's all right. Just tell us about you, what you do, why you do it. Just tell us about yourself. Please go for it.
If I keep looking down in the video, it's because I've set up a camera separately to my laptop. So my laptop screen's down, but my camera's up. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. So Richard grew up in Birmingham. I've always been based in Birmingham. Raised by my mum, who's really hardworking. She was a foster carer, loads of siblings. So I'd say I'm one of 9, counting all of my siblings, and inclusive of one of my foster siblings who's moved on. So huge family. And kind of, we've always been fairly close. It was an interesting, when it was happy, our childhood, but there were also challenges as well, a variety of challenges, as you can imagine, in a single parent household. So at the moment, I'm a FE college lecturer at a college in Birmingham and have been since 2008. I teach media studies and photography. I'm a passionate photographer. So as well as delivering the subject at college, I'm also an author. I put together a book whilst doing my MA in photography at Falmouth, focusing on the Windrush generation. And I decided on that subject because both of my parents are from the Windrush generation. And when I was trying to kind of debate over what direction to take my projects at the start of my MA, I thought about Black professionals and trying to change the narrative a little bit, thinking about how kind of we're misrepresented a lot of time in the media. We don't really have complete control over how we're presented. And it's typically the same stereotypes that we'll see in the media. So that was my first idea for a project, Black professionals. And I was thinking about kind of the people that I know in my community and how dramatically different they are from the people that we see on the TV.
Yeah. You can say that again, right?
Yeah. What I find to be a problem is that if you are Black and in the media world, you are not given the benefit of being unique, which kind of ties into what we do with photography. It's kind of with photography, a lot of the time you have to reinforce stereotypes if you're using your photography to communicate a message. So if I was to take a picture of a DJ, I'd have to have some telltale signs to indicate to the people looking at the picture, this is a DJ, because there's no verbal communication. If I haven't taken advantage of text to write that, then it's not going to be clear what they are. So I'd have to, I don't know, have some Dex or Serato or whatever it is to make it clear. And I think that's what happens a lot of the time in the media. There's a certain kind of activity that Black people are presented as being into. We all like the same type of music. There are no kind of unique characteristics, which isn't real life. We're such a big group of diverse people in one household. We're all different. So me and Jordan get on really well. We might have some different interests. So Jordan likes boxing as well, but I'm massively into boxing. We've got different personalities within one family. So imagine within one ethnicity, it's so dramatically different. And I just don't think there's an obvious representation of that. So that was my first idea for the project. But I started the MA in 2018, and it's when
What's an MA for those that are listening?
It's a Master in the Arts. So it's a postgraduate qualification. So it's a level 7 qualification.
It's pretty intense. It's pretty advanced.
Yeah, it is advanced. What it allows for is a lot more kind of self-directed study. It allowed me to really focus on what I was interested in and try to push that narrative a little bit more. At the time of me beginning this course, the Windrush scandal kind of broke. So a lot of people from our communities, from Commonwealth communities, were already aware of some of the mistreatment that was going on, but we weren't aware of the extent of it. The story broke that despite everyone from the Commonwealth being told that they were British and that, England was the motherland and whatever else, these people were being deported back to countries that quite often they didn't know or weren't the same as when they left. So if you came from Jamaica, I don't know, in 1948, when the Windrush first docked, to be sent back to Jamaica in 2000, it's not going to stand you in good stead because you essentially, they were given £2,000 to resettle, which isn't enough to do anything. It created a huge amount of problems. And there was a show on the BBC recently, David Olusoga, and it's the Windrush generation, the hidden files, and in some of the documentation that was found.
Rich, just to say, we've got some slight issue with your connection. I think it's saying your webcam has been said EOS webcam utility.
I'll put that back on. I won't be a second.
Okay, so Jordan, while Richard is doing that, tell us about you, because you've got a very interesting story. Tell us about you and your background.
Okay, no problem. So myself, I'm 27 at the moment, soon to be 28. And growing up, like I always, I'll probably meander a little bit in this story, but I always identified myself with that narrative that you see publicised on the TV, and I found myself easier led down that path, and then eventually,
What?
Go on.
What narrative is that?
The narrative that black kids, black boys carry knives. The narrative that black kids are robbing people, or drug dealers, all of these things. So I found it very easy for myself to identify with that, and I kind of felt at home with that kind of identity for myself as a young child. Especially because I kind of I went to a predominantly white and Asian school as well, so I felt even more ostracized. So then it was easier for me to identify with, wait, no one here is like me. The pictures on TV are saying that I should be like this, so I started acting that way. And despite seeing all of the pitfalls of that life beforehand, I ended up going to prison. I ended up doing 3.5 years in prison. So I was in prison from the age of 18 to 22. And then, lucky enough for me, like before I left, like, I don't know, I find that I've got a good resilience, but before I left, I decided that I wasn't going to come back. And, but it's not as simple as that. No change is overnight, is it? So everything's gradual. But I knew that basically that life that I was talking about, you have so much pain in it. I think that's not advertised, like the betrayal, the heartache. So I was kind of scarred by that. So then I've left upon release. I ended up getting a job, started working, and so I got released on a Friday. And from the Monday I was working. I haven't stopped working since. So that's coming up to 6 years now. So 6 years straight I've been working. Um, and then now like I'm in a great place. Like I've got a beautiful son. I've got like my girlfriend, she's stunning. I've got I own my own house. I do like I've turned my life around. Like I've got the life that people would have set out to get from school. So like I feel like I'm on the road to recovery, to getting my life back on track now.
That's awesome. Jordan, do you know what as well? Thank you very much for your honesty and vulnerability in sharing what you just shared right now.
Yeah.
You're not sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that definitely for the young black boys, young black men that are listening. So you saw the narrative in the media and you believed it. You thought this is the way to go. And you've taken that path and you've seen that, whoa, actually, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It's not what I've been sold. Correct?
You know what it is? I ain't gonna lie to you. Like when I was in that mode, I was in love with it because it gives you such an identity. Not many things in this life give you identity or purpose. So like I felt like this is me. Like I used to step out of my front door and I'd be like phone, knife, this, that. You know what I mean? Like make sure that I'm set up and geared to go out. But when I mean like the heartache, I think that's something that people don't understand. And anyone that has turned their life on that, turn their back on that type of life, there's similar pattern. They have the same heartbreak that I felt as well, from friends, from family, from all of these things. Like, and I mean, like, there's more people that are in prison, more people that live that life that are on the outside that suffered with depression, and people even realize. Like the mental health and the suffering that people go through is real, and I think that's something that isn't advertised as well.
And just to ask as well, what was the thing that made you think, I'm going to turn my life around, I'm not doing that anymore?
So when I went to jail, I got arrested on it. Was like a bad charge. So it was like there was guns involved. There was like a stabbing, a robbery, everything was, and it was all going to get put into one charge. So I was, so in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to get like 15 years for this. Like adding all of the time together, 15. Take away that, I'll probably do around 8 to 9 years inside. That's what was going through my head. So I was thinking, that's a long time. Like I ain't gonna have no money when I get out. I ain't gonna have no foundation to come out to. But then it was like I sat there and I thought, you know what? I'm good enough. Like I'm smart enough to lead a different life. And then I was in jail and I was looking at all of these other kids and I was thinking they've got families, like they've got people that can support them. And then I was thinking, wait, I have no justification to be doing this. You know what I mean? Because like I can read, I can write, I can get a job. So what justification do I have to be living this life? Like I'm fairly capable human being, so I don't have no justification to be out here committing crime. And then I was laying on a bed, and this was when the trial was going on. I was looking at things. I was looking at like the table, and then I was thinking, wait, someone's made that table. Someone's made money off this table. You know, like so my brain started thinking like that, and I started thinking everything in life, there's a business behind it, there's people involved. Like I don't need to think that this is my only path. And it was probably due to a lack of confidence and to me believing the narrative that was my only path. So I sat there and I thought, wait, there's so many different paths and avenues that I can take in life. Why am I pushing myself down this one, which isn't benefiting me at the moment? Like, I could have carried on and it would have been easy to carry on. And like, but I was going to say this for later, but I like to see things like now I'm in business and that. And what I've learned from being in business for a number of years now is that you have to look at it as a game. You have to look at, like in a game, you work out what works and what doesn't work. And then you keep doing the thing that works. So that's the same with life. But the thing that people mistake, they don't understand, life is a game, but you don't get no reset. There's no like you can be winning at half time, which a lot of people might be winning. Like they might be
Right.
driving a nice car at 18, at 20, 25. But when it's full time or when it's flipping the third quarter and you're 50 and you have no job, or you know what I mean, you have no assets, the police taken everything, or you've been robbed, your girl's left you, like everything's changed, like you're losing. And then all of these people that played a steady game and planned it out, they're in a much better position than you. And then I started, when I did get out, I started looking at people and I started looking at like men, like strong, and I started looking at men differently. I was looking at this guy's driving down the street with his kids in the back of a car and with his wife, and he's looking after his family. You know what I mean? That's something that I started recognizing as strength. So a lot of things started changing in my mind about how I saw things.
That's awesome. I mean, thank you for sharing that with us as well. I mean, for those that are watching, so Rich is having some problems with his connection, so we'll bring it back in as soon as we can. So tell us about the business. Care by Jules, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Tell us about the company and why did you start it?
So Care by Jules started because I had so I come out, I was working flat out, like I was working hard, and people probably don't understand, but you can make a lot of money like legitimately in a short amount of time. So I come out, I was 22, I was making around 30 grand a year, and then that all just went like overnight. So then I was like, because I got injured, so I got RSI in my wrist, so I couldn't do the work no more. And then basically, I was looking around, I was thinking, what can I do? Like, I can't sit here, I have to make money. What can I do to help people? And before that, I was actually starting another business. I wanted to start welding, and I wanted to create figures of people to help increase people's confidence. So I was thinking, where I was going with this is that I felt like the reason that I ended up on that path is because I didn't have the confidence in myself to do anything else. I thought, oh, you're not capable of achieving that through those means. So I thought, you know what, I need to help people's confidence. And then my mum, she is a homeopath and she does alternative therapy. So she's always treated people for skin ailments. So I was like, you know what, I can help increase people's confidence, help them live a better life. And if I was, for me, confidence is the core of everything. Like if you're confident in yourself, you're not going to let people pick on you, bully you. And not only you're not going to let people do that to you, you're not going to do it to other people. So I thought, you know what, I can help people become better people. I can help our community rise and succeed. So I was like, you know what, let me do this. And then me and my mum started doing it, started making the products. And then looking off after a few weeks, I was doing a lot of research. I got invited to go on the BBC to talk about harmful skincare ingredients. And then it just carried on from there. And like literally, the support from it has been amazing. Like literally, my brother's been amazing. Like Richard's been amazing. His support's been amazing, and like it's just carried on from there. And then like now, I feel like we're getting into our real mojo and seeing some like real success with what we're doing. So yeah, everything's going great.
That's amazing. It's a really great story to hear. For those of you that are listening, can we get some claps and some emojis or something in the chat? It's a very powerful story from where you came from, what you experienced, and also how you responded. That's really brilliant. Like we're going to definitely talk more about that later on, and also how young, because knife crime is a big issue at the moment. And just what you maybe later on, what you can say to other young people that will hear this and maybe are going down the path they used to go down. So we'll touch on that later on. It'd be great to get your thoughts to what you would say to them, and also what you would say to young people that are looking at this and thinking, yeah, but that sounds hard. It looks like maybe if I was doing the gang life, that'd be easier. But it seems like doing it legitimately is going to be a lot more tougher. But we'll definitely touch on that later on. But yeah, love your story, Jordan. Thank you very much for sharing it. And I'm excited about your business, and we'd love to see how we can support you as well. Richard, we got you back.
Yeah, sorry, my webcam's playing up. It's been off and on, but I've sorted now. I've changed the webcam, so it should be fine.
You're talking about no, it happens as a part of the journey. It's like a part of life, right? You've got a plan, and then something happens, and you just deal with it. You just deal with it, and then you move on. Done.
That's it.
So that was an example of what we're talking about. That look, life is not like a straight journey.
Yeah.
It's like boom,
100%.
boom, but then it's definitely how you respond.
Yeah.
We've got claps from Adam, Marceline, Jason Grant. Thank you very much. Richard, yes, so tell us about, you're talking about the book you're working on, The Windrush Generation. I definitely want to hear about that because you're an author. That's amazing. And I want young black boys that are out there say, look, listen, this guy's an author and he did it and he made that happen. And you've also got your own business.
Yes.
And you teach and you're a mentor. So you do lots of things. So just, tell us some more about the book and then tell us about your business.
Yeah. So like I was saying, initially, my idea was that we need to take control of the narrative a little bit more. I discussed the Windrush generation. The intention was from the very beginning, due to it was listed in some documentation uncovered by David Olasaga, where they mentioned that the intention was always to send people from Caribbean and African nations back home. They only wanted them to come over and contribute for 5 years.
Wow,
and, they wanted the white Europeans to come over, who are also part of the Commonwealth, and assimilate, because I think one of the key differences between all us here on the panel and other people who may come over from European countries is your children will still be ethnically different in appearance, no matter how many generations down the line we go. And I think the hope was that people would assimilate, and I don't know, the Polish man whose son or grandson is born in England is completely English as far as they're aware, whereas that's not necessarily the thought process or the way people feel about people of color. I'm not saying that I agree with that, but that's not how they think or feel. So I think my idea was that what needs to happen is we need more people from our community to control our narrative and tell our story. So Jordan said that he saw kind of a certain image glamorized, and it attracted him. And we've probably all seen some of the same kind of images glamorized, but that's not the entirety of our life. There's so many different people. There's huge communities within our community, of churchgoers, of just black professionals, just people in different industries that has no real media representation. I decided to focus on the Windrush generation because of the scandal that kind of came out at the time. It came out in 2018. I started my master's at the same time, and I found it quite difficult to start off with. So the reason I went back to what I was discussing before with our story not being told by people within our community is I was surprised when I started doing the project how reluctant people were to participate.
Really?
It was really difficult. Yeah, it was really difficult to get started. And I think in general, people, I don't know if they're scared of the consequence but it's all very secretive. And unfortunately, you might think it's a secret, but that story is going to be told one way or another. I think the only difference is whether it's told truthfully or from the perspective of an outsider looking in, trying to tell our story. Eventually, the project started, but there was so many different problems they encountered. So turning up to people's houses and then having changed their mind. And it's understandable because the project is basically conversations with different Windrush generation survivors in their household, mostly sat down. And that's because there were a few kind of factors that I wanted to communicate. I wanted all of the people from the Windrush generation to appear approachable. So having them sit down in a seated position is much more approachable and less confrontational. I also wanted to capture the images in the living room because the front room is quite an important area in a lot of Caribbean households. So, and then there are also kind of certain things that are recurring throughout the household. So some of the traditional artwork and paintings that you see, really colourful, vibrant objects. And I think a lot of the houses are also, they're quite cluttered as well. Mm-hmm. So what I was really trying to do with this project is just communicate a little bit about who these people are and make them almost more
human.
to humanize them to a new audience. I think me and Jordan have always had different stories, so I was kind of always the the good one, I guess.
Jordan's nodding.
Nah, literally.
I think, I just thought, I suppose I've always overthought things. I still overthink things now. And I just think it's really important that we communicate our story. So working in an FE college, you see a lot of things. And one of the questions, or I know we'll go on to this later on, but one of the things that you mentioned is people might kind of think, why go down this pathway? It looks like a lot of hard work when I can do this. And it appears easier. But the funny thing is, working in an FE college, I see so many like youngers with that mindset, but none of them have anything. They don't have anything, which is so none of them, or very few of them, have live in really nice accommodation. They might have a nice car or a nice watch, and that's pretty much the extent of it. And they're constantly looking over their shoulder. They can't really relax a lot of the time.
Live life.
Yeah, they can't live their life. But typically, they're working very hard and they have very little. It might appear glamorized on TV, but that's not the reality of it. I could argue, I could use Jordan as an example. He's in a much better position now than he was then. He was probably working hard at both times, is the reality. The only difference is he's working hard now, but he can relax. He can actually switch off. Whereas before, you can't switch off. You always have to be on guard because you never know when, someone that you've got a problem with is going to bump into you or whatever else. Whatever mix-up might happen, it's completely different. I think
that's one thing I'd say, yeah. Literally, as Richard's saying, when I started driving as well, when everything was legitimate and everything, it was something I had to get used to, not having to look at the rear view for police. Like, it was something that I was like, wait, I ain't got to check myself if I've got anything on me, because sometimes I had things on me and not even know. And it's like, I ain't got to have my heart beating or relaxing. And the second thing that I'd like to say as well is that growing up here, like, Richard's always been like my role model as well. Like, even though like I pursued something different, Richard always had everything that I wanted. If you know what I mean, like, he had his house, he had all the gadgets, he had his wife, you know what I mean? Like, he had everything that I've ever, like, most people dream of. And I remember as well, I was in prison, and this was when I was with Cody. Like, he's a like big, like me and him was both massive, and like, I've lost a lot of weight now, and he had big, like, full mouth of gold teeth in it, full, like, and looked mean, like, you'd never, like, you wouldn't say wave at him or smile. So then we were sitting on the bed. We had a double pad, and he said, "Oh," so I was saying, "Oh, I want this. I want to be a millionaire. I want all of these things." And he said, "Oh, all I want is just a wife and kids and a house." I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing here then? Like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, my brother's got everything that you dream of. You know what I mean? And you've wasted all this time sitting down and making your future 10 times harder. For what? Yeah. But I was just trying to say that, like, my brother is definitely one of my inspirations, one of the reasons that I changed around as well.
That's awesome. I mean, even as I'm talking to you guys, I'm getting so many ideas that I'll save. You know, you give me at least 2 ideas. I think we're actually going to do like a specific session on people that have lived that lifestyle, because I know a few other people who've turned their lives around. Just bring them all together, and even also do a session with authors, like Black authors. What I want to ask you, Richard, is give us the link to your book. We're going to promote it. We'll share it with our network. What I also want to touch on, because literally time is going. We've got about 13 minutes left, and time it's flown by. What I want to talk about is the importance of mentorship, Richard. Yeah. Because I know that you do mentor, like you mentor Jordan. You do that with what you do at school. You do that generally anyway. And there's also other people that you've influenced. Talk about the importance of mentorship.
I think that another thing, it's really important that the young people in our community have people that they can relate to. And I think that there's loads of people that are have got the right intentions, but they're not necessarily relatable, or the students can't really identify with them. But I've lived a normal life, and I haven't always had things my own way. And I just think, I've kind of persevered and I've been patient. There's still ways to go. I haven't still got where I'd like to be in life, but I work towards it. And I suppose I'm chasing different things. When I was younger, my older brother, the oldest brother, wanted to be a film director, and that's what I wanted to be. And that was kind of what led to me becoming a photographer and then becoming a lecturer, and led me down this pathway. But the kind of ideas that I had when I was young are not reality of my life now. I just changed as I matured, and I started chasing different things. So contentment, and obviously I want comfort, and I want to be content as well, because I know a wide range of people, and so many of them are like haunted, and they can't really relax, and they've got money, they've got everything, but they're stressed out. So it's all about trying to find that balance, and I think that's what I'm looking for. And these are the conversations that we have with people that I mentor and offer advice to. I can't really go into too many details, but some of the students that I teach have had some horrific experiences. It puts things into context, really. I'm talking about, real suffering. And I think what they need is someone on occasion to just listen. We can communicate our experiences without expecting someone to give an input, because the reality of it is we don't all have answers. It might appear like I'm in the right position, but I don't have all the answers to everything. No one does. But I can listen and offer advice if it's wanted, or I can just be in the air. And I think that's one of the most important things. I can point people in the right direction with my mentorship, but they need to be able to relate to me and offload as well. Sometimes that in itself allows people to think over the issues and handle them in the right way. If you've got a chat box link, I'll post a copy to the book so people can have a look.
Yeah, please do. So if you put it into our chat, we'll post that on our platform, and we'll put it into the chat. No, that's really great. And I mean, so for those that are listening, so that's the power of mentorship. So I'm right in saying that Richard's mentorship at home in the house has had a massive influence on Jordan, which was a key part in having Jordan take different actions in life. It makes a difference. So to the parents that are out there, the older brothers, even the older sisters, what you do, the young ones are watching. It does make a difference. Those words, those conversations where you might pull them up on something, you might think this person just been stubborn, doesn't want to hear it, but those conversations do make a difference. They might not listen then, but it stays. It's one that in a few months' time, in a few years' time, they will remember. They will remember that. So please keep on doing that. Mentorship is key. Mentorship makes a huge difference. It sounds so simple, but it's so powerful.
One thing that I'd like to add on to that as well is that part of the reason that I did want to start this business is because I do a lot of reading and I've read a lot. And one of the best things that I learned in one of the books that I read was that the true purpose of a teacher isn't to actually teach someone how to do something, it's to show them that it can be done. So I took that with myself and I was like, it's monkey see, monkey do. So the reason that I want to start my business and do all of these things is just to say, like, it can be done. And part of that is, say, with parents as well, if you want your kid to do something, make sure that you are the person that you want your kid to be. So it's like, I see a lot of parents do things, like tell their kid not to do this, not to cheat, not to do things like that. But then, like, they're cheating a game or they're doing little things. And it's like, make sure every single part of your character is what you want to see in your child. Like, don't let your child see any flaws in who you are in it. Just be the person that you want them to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan, for saying that. And also, parents, it's okay to reach out for people to support you with that, because it's hard to try to be perfect. So you'll have your flaws. You having support will also make a difference, because when the children arrived, I don't know about you, but I didn't arrive with any manual. It was like, hello, here's Ademola, and here is his manual. Here's how he operates. This is what he likes. This is what he doesn't like. This is how you train them. I didn't come with no manuals, so the children didn't come with manuals. But you can have people that will mentor you and coach you and support you to do what Jordan has said, because we know that you're not perfect. You've got things that you need to work on. Have people that will support you to work on those things. It makes a difference for the next generation.
Yeah,
huge difference. I know you want to say something, Richard. Do you want to go for it? But then I also want to ask a question around you touched on like how people can support what you're doing. We've got the link to the book because the theme for today is shine that light. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But yeah, Richard, you were going to say something. Go for it.
So we didn't get the chance to speak about some of the ways into the creative industries, and I think I've worked with so many students who have gone on to be quite successful. I don't want to, sound cliched because I'm a teacher, but education is so important. I think reading regularly and perhaps kind of choosing your own syllabus instead of following a set kind of type of book. So I'm reading The Alchemist at the moment. I think take advantage of local networks. And I think one of the most important things when working in the creative industries, whether as a musician, a photographer, a videographer, is that you need to work freelance and kind of build a huge portfolio or catalog of work before you start marketing yourself.
Sure.
So I've shared a link to my wedding photography business, which is something that I do outside of lecturing. I also do like portraits and work with different kind of fashion brands or whatever I can take advantage of. As well as that, I take landscape pictures, and I think it's something that I just enjoy doing. I just think it's really important to have drive. I think that the creative industries are quite different to other fields out there. So I am not going to try to do the electrics in my house because I'll probably kill myself, to be honest. But if you've got an event coming up, you might decide to pick up a camera and try to take pictures. And that's the difference. Your competitor is everyone. It's not just the specialists. It's anyone who has the financial available to purchase the equipment. They're going to be prepared to give it a go because their mindset a lot of the time is what's the worst that could happen. And because of that, it's really important. The entry point, I think, to the creative industries is hard work. I think that's the most important thing. You have to be driven. You have to kind of know what it is that you want and decide early, and you have to build a portfolio of work. So in fact, to begin with, you need to work free or for an affordable price, then that's what you should do. I have a student actually who's just moved over from Barbados, and he's had a business over there and has got a business over here now. And essentially that's your competition. You've got people that are prepared to move to better themselves. Mm-hmm. So if you're not prepared to, drop what it is you're doing and focus on it, then you might not get ahead in these industries. They're rapidly expanding. I think a lot of parents look at people who want to go into the creative industries and they don't take it as seriously as some other subject areas when they'll go home and use Facebook and other social media and not understand that these professionals and these people that are training for these industries are the people that are creating the content for the platforms that you run about. It's a rapidly expanding industry. There's talk of a digital skills gap in the UK, which is kind of all of these digital skills which the majority of professionals don't have over here. It's only certain kind of places in the world like San Francisco where all of the skills come from. So I think allowing your children to study and take it seriously, and then for the students themselves, it's about kind of having that work ethic. I think that's the most important thing.
Brilliant, Richard. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Thank you. Also give me another idea there. So great to hear that. So for the young ones that are out there, there's lots of opportunities within media, within the creative industry, and also parents. If you've got those creative ones in your house, encourage it. It's much needed. It's much needed. The world needs it. Awesome. So let them shine that light because it'll make a huge difference to us all. Jordan, let me just ask you this. I mentioned it before. So what would you say to young black boys, young black men out there that are living the life that you've left, or maybe they're tempted to go down that route? What can you share with them from your experience, and what can you say to them?
what can I say to them? It's a lot of things. Like one of the main things is just really for them to work out what it is they want. Like if it's girls that you want, you don't need to live that life to meet girls or you know what I mean, like to have relationships like that. If it's money that you want, you don't need to live that life. All of these things like are attainable and fairly easily. Like no matter what, you're still gonna work hard whether you're living that life or not. Like so you're better off. Not only that, I'll just say like you just got to look at it from a different point. A lot of people are detached nowadays, like they're desensitized to other human beings, but it just
Mm.
depends what type, where you want to go with it. Sorry, it's a hard one, but I was just thinking what I'd say. If it's someone that in my family that was doing it now, I'll just be like, yo, have some clarity, know where it is that you want to be in 5, 10 years time, and you can achieve it. I know plenty of people that live lives better than any person that is on the roads, like have more money in their pocket. Like I know people that own restaurants at my age, like own multiple restaurants that have corporate jobs earning 70 grand a year, 100 grand a year. So like none of these things are like far from far fetched. And the worst part of it is not one of them is better than someone that goes to jail. Like that's probably what most thing that hurt me the most about going to jail is that how many people in there have good hearts and
Mm-mm.
good souls, and it's like all of you people are good people, and you're wasting your life. Like you don't get anywhere in the long run, and the odds of you actually being successful are ridiculous. Like the odds of you having a long career in it are ridiculous. Like I know of people that have bought several houses. They bought several houses 10 years ago.
Mm-mm.
Now they were renting out these houses to someone else. The police arrested the person that was in the house for some God knows for second I don't know what reason, but for some reason they've looked into the owner of the house. They've worked out. Wait, how did you buy this house? You know what they did? They seized all of his houses. All of his houses. He's left with nothing now. He thought he was out. He thought he was retired. People think that you can't beat the system. You can't beat the game nowadays. There's too much technology, and you got to think about it. You're one person that's going against thousands of people like in the police force that have got millions and if not billions in their budget to catch you. Like look at all of the people that got caught recently. That they was paying $1.50 for a phone called the EncroChat phone, and all of them are getting caught on it. So it's like, don't think you can't beat this system nowadays. You have to play the game, and the only way to play the game is to be legitimate. And it's not hard to work yourself up, have all of the assets that you want, drive the nice cars that you want, have the girl that you want, have the car that you want, house that you want, everything. It's not hard. Like you can do it. There's too much information out there nowadays for you not to be able to do it. So that's what I would say. I'd say nowadays, the odds of you beating a game, it's about playing the game, play the odds and win the game in it. Don't flipping think you're in some fantasy belly
Mm.
or whatever film. Like all these guys in Top Boy, where are they living? You know what I mean? They're living on the estate, innit? They're not living in their own house. So think
Mm.
about it, think logically, innit? Like
I
that's
think
what you need to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Ashley Walters he went to drama school, didn't he?
Yeah, he went drama school, yeah.
Which is, he's a hard-working individual and he's successful, rightfully so, because he's put in the work.
Mm.
So the image that's been projected, it's not reality. That's the
Yeah.
relevant. He never, some of the people that are looked up to in whatever industry, that's not the life that they've lived. It's only an image that's sold. Tupac went to drama school. The
Yeah.
majority of these people are entertainers and professionals, and there's nothing wrong with them telling a story. I don't know if these things should come with a disclaimer that this is just a story, though.
Yeah. It's not. It's not.
You know what it is though?
Don't
No.
do it at home.
What other community is allowed to glamorize crime on the level that black people do? There's no other community that, like, say the Italians, but apart from that, there's no other community that has crime
Yeah.
glamorized. Like, think there were Jewish criminals, there was Jewish mafias, there was every other community has crime, but within the black community, it's celebrated. So it's like it's nonsense. But like, yeah, the thing that I'd say, 100%. play the odds and you're not beating the system. You send a message on your phone, it's getting tracked. You have your phone on you anywhere. They know where you are. They've got cell site. They can pinpoint where you are. You can't beat the game. Like I know people that are getting caught. They think they take their SIM out of their phone, put it in another phone. They can track that. They can track everything. Like you can't beat. If they want to catch you, they're gonna catch you. So don't try play. Think you're smarter than them. They're geniuses, isn't it? Like play the game that you can win.
Tying back into what Jordan just said. Sorry, Ademola. Earlier on, I said that kind of we need to control our narrative and our image. The same thing, that Jordan's just said. Why is it glamorized in our community? A lot of the time, the people deciding which artists to sign, etc., are not from within our community. The more people like Steve McQueen and other fantastic creatives we have, the better, because then you can change your narrative and tell your own story.
That's brilliant. Both great conversation. We could talk for maybe at least another half an hour on this. Jordan, if you send us a link to your business, we'll share that as well. But gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure to have you both on. There's literally many more things that we can discuss. There's many more things that I could have gone into. But thank you both very, very much. I look forward to having you on board again. And I won't even say good luck with the businesses, but I know the businesses will be successful. So well done in advance. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being on. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
So great conversation. Great conversation. It's great to have Jordan and Richard just to share that. I mean, the thing, so I had to catch myself. So when Jordan shared about his friend, so he said his co-D that he was in prison with, the guy with the gold teeth. And he just said that what he wanted was just a house and a wife. That's the life that he wanted, just to be settled. I don't know about you, but that moved me. I had to kind of catch myself to not cry. I'm not kidding you. So that's what he wanted. And that's where he ended up. And there's many more young people like that. That's all they just need. That's all they want. It's just the support and guidance to get there, that they can make better choices and more empowering choices. So it was a very powerful conversation we just had with Jordan and Richard. We're not going to have another incredible conversation with an amazing actor. I've done some work with this. We're actually doing some work with this great actor, teacher, and a model, right? He spoke at our mentorship program that we had for young black boys, young black men, December last year. Because some of the boys on that program are actors. And I was able to share his wisdom, give him ideas. And we started doing some coaching work with him. And I just thought, do you know what? You've got such a powerful vision. I want to give you a platform to share your vision and to talk to people about who you are and what you do. So this is Alfonso Brown. Gonna bring him on there we go. Alfonso, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Can't complain. I'm doing well.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for being on. Thank you for saying yes. So welcome and well done.
Thank you very much.
Right in. I know we got you on like a minute or so later. Apologies for that. The previous conversation just flowed.
Yeah. It was a great chat by Richard and George, so it was nice.
And you commented as well about thank you for being so open about what they shared. That's really very, very important. Just that openness and that authenticity. So over to you, Alfonso. Tell us about you, your story. What do you do and why do you do it?
Cool. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. My story is I started performing when I was in church. So, when you do like Sunday school when you're growing up, there's like nativity plays, there's like Easter plays. And I was always encouraged to do those sort of plays. And that's maybe from the age of maybe 2 or 3, I was doing that. And just performing them like once or twice a year, I just loved it. It's my favorite part of the year. And then when I was in year 4, drama got brought into the syllabus at my primary school. And I just remember being just in my element. Like whenever we had to go and perform, like I'd get all my boys together. It's like in primary school, you're always with your boys. So get my boys together, say, okay, you want to do this, you'll do that, I'll do this, you do that. And we'd go up and perform. And I just loved it so much, and I never like had a connection with something so strong. And so by the time I was in year 5, I went to see a performance at the Brit School, and it was there and then I said to myself, I want this as my career. Like, I want to be a performer. So I would have been 9 when I decided that I wanted this as a career, and here I am. So I went to secondary school, done drama at GCSE level, studied performing arts at college, and then went to university and studied acting. And since graduating from university, I've then progressed and done a few shows, and now I'm into writing. Modeling's kind of just been weaving in here and there. I've just been able to kind of do that here and there and do a few good things, which has been nice. But yeah, that's pretty much the path so far.
That's really great. So, gonna ask some honest questions just to bring out authenticity, especially for those that are listening. What's your background, like your parents?
Jamaica. Both ways, yeah.
So when you said to them, I want to be an actor, I want to be in drama, what was their first reaction?
You know what? Extremely supportive.
Oh, great.
I don't take that for granted at all, because my dad was one of the people who were encouraging me when I was younger, like to do Sunday school and do the performancing.
Awesome.
Performancing, come on. Do the performances.
Any words?
Yeah, look at me. And and when I was in year 9, to pick your options for GCSE, and drama was on my list. Me and my mum were going through it, and drama was never questioned. I think it was clear from very young that I had a passion for it. So my mother, my father, my dad's done. My dad's been great towards it as well. My dad's come to see me in shows. My whole family, to be honest, like I say, my dad, my mum, but it's been my brothers, it's been my aunties, my grandma. People have come and seen me from like traveled 6 hours. Like I had a show a few years ago, deep in Devon. And my family got in a van and traveled like 6 hours to see me, and then traveled 6 hours back and got home at like 5 a.m. the next day. That's with my grandma as well, and she's in her 80s at that time. So I've had a great support system, but I don't take that for granted, because when I was in school, and we was picking our options, I had a lot of friends who wanted to do maybe like a drama or like a PE, but their parents made them do like a language or made them do something a bit more academic. So yeah,
that's really great. Can you say so? Thank you for saying that, because I say this a lot when we do our sessions, and I say it when I work with young people. And I'm Nigerian. Like my dad, I'm the only boy out of 5 children. So my dad was really clear on what he wanted. It was engineer, doctor, lawyer, and I got given the choice to be a pilot. And I end up in sales and business. And I've got other people around me who are very creative. And normally some of the parents, they don't have a listening for that. They're thinking, what? You want to do acting?
Yeah, for sure.
You're a drama teacher. You want to go into music? What's music? You want to be a music teacher? What do you mean? So I'm not saying it. What can you say to parents that've got creative children in their house? What advice can you offer them?
I'm giving advice to parents. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah, I guess if your children have like a passion or a talent for something that's creative, you have to kind of nourish that. So I think I'm not going to sit here and say that this career offers stability, because it doesn't. This career can be very hard. There are times where I've been out of work for ages. So it is a really challenging career and journey. But your children have to, I think, find their own feet. Like you can't make all the choices for them. And people with a career or a talent for performing or writing or directing, I know it doesn't sound as great as my son's a doctor or my daughter's a lawyer, but these are still real careers. Like the arts is all around us. People say, oh, we don't really need the arts, but those same people will go to the cinema, or those same people will put on Netflix, or those same people, we're all like such huge consumers of the art.
I wouldn't have cut you off. When the art have been closed since March last year, we've all felt it.
Yeah. So, and it's just so true. And even there's a lot of like transferable skills that you can get from being part of like like a drama club, like working as an ensemble, teamwork.
What's an ensemble, please?
Ensembles like group work, so it's working in like a group. Teamwork, like confidence, boosting your self-esteem. Like there's so many transferable skills that help people develop as people through drama. So your son or your daughter might really love the arts, but maybe just as a hobby. But doing that can allow them to kind of learn a lot about themselves. And with acting as well, all of it forces you to be very honest and very transparent. So I don't have a problem with sitting here and being honest, because that's part of being an actor. Because so that's helped me in my life, like knowing that if I feel a certain way about something, just kind of confronting it. And part of that is because when you're in a rehearsal room and you're doing something, you don't feel right, you got to say, oh, actually, here's my idea, or I don't feel comfortable with this. So even that, like boundaries is a big thing that you learn from when you're doing acting, like just saying, oh, you might be doing a scene with someone, say, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Like just establishing boundaries is a huge part of life, also a huge part of acting. So I think people see performances and the creative world through like a very, very tiny lens, but there's a huge bigger picture towards it. So my advice to the parents would be just kind of nourish it, just support them. It might not go into a career, it might do. It might just be something they do for a time and move on, but it's so important to nourish it and kind of support it the same way you would if your son said, I want to be a doctor. The same kind of dedication and love and support you give towards that, give it towards art, because it is important.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. And yes, for those of you that are listening, so for young ones that are listening, if you've got that passion that you want to be in the creatives and you see yourself, you know, I can see myself being in that play, or I can see myself in a big blockbuster. That's your vision. Ademola is saying, go after it. Yeah. Go after it. Alfonso saying, go after it. And parents, what we're saying is support that vision, because that creativity is them shining their light, right? And you didn't put that creativity in them. Yeah. You're here to nurture that creativity. So let it shine. Let it literally blossom, because you'll be surprised what happens in their life and what happens next.
Yeah. And kids are our legacy, but we're not meant to live like vicariously through our kids. So we can't like put our hopes and dreams into our kids, say, oh, I want to be a doctor, but I couldn't, so you can be a doctor and do this. Like kids are just our legacy, so we kind of have them, and then like we're just meant to kind of nourish them and develop them and help them on their journey and support them.
Perfect. Like literally well said. Thanks everyone. Good advice, says Ruth. Oh yeah, thank you. Great advice. Thank you for that, Alfonso. It makes a huge difference. There's many more things that I could say about this. Is always remember, as a young person listening to this, if you have, because we had a session earlier on today and we spoke about purpose with the boys that are on our mentorship programs, and we just said to them, go for what you want. Like literally go for what you want. Because I'm really clear that there's no point living a pretend trial run life. Like this is the trial run. The real life is gonna come like in 5 years' time, or I'll live my real life at some point later. Don't do that. Go for exactly what you want, because you'll be surprised what pays. And especially for the next generation, there's so much technology that's coming into play that's transforming the working environment. That what I dealt with isn't what you're going to deal with, Alfonso, isn't what our parents dealt with, and it's not what the young ones are going to deal with. So, and the gift they've got is what they'll need to blossom in that kind of environment. It's that gift that they're demonstrating in your house. Maybe they always like create things, or they kind of draw things, or maybe they see a pattern that you don't see, like something breaks and they basically fix it. Encourage that, because that's the light. You encourage that, and it will do something that surprises even you.
Yeah, basically. For sure.
And let me ask you about this. So, a couple of questions I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So you came on board to a coaching program with us and with me. And you've now taken a step in your career.
Yeah.
Very bold step. Say a bit more about that. Why you said yes to being coached and supported, what you saw, and what you've seen so far?
Yeah. So I think we began our coaching in February. Early February we began our coaching, and I remember doing the talk with your group of 1,000 Black boys last year, and just being very. So to make it make sense, I used to be in a group called Black Boys Can when I was younger. So I would have been around maybe year 6, like 10, 11, when I joined this group called Black Boys Can. And it was also about, similar to what you're doing with the kids at your group, about just teaching young Black boys that there's so much more they can achieve and to see further than what they see on TV. So further than just being a rapper or being a footballer or all of that. And all of those things are great. And I love football, I love rap, but just making our minds expand. So just kind of seeing the way you spoke with the kids and interacted with the kids. Just want to kind of get to know a bit more about you. And of course, I heard about you through my Uncle Freddie as well, who was running the Black Boys Can program as well. So I felt like I was at a point in life where I was ready to like push on, and through our talks and our meetings, it felt like you did have the heart to push me on as well and to encourage me and to make me kind of start making a few more advanced but difficult choices in life. And I think that's all a part of growing up. Like, life's not easy and you have to make hard choices. So part of that is I joined a theatre group in March, and then like telling my job where I work that I need like a whole morning off of work. And
you did what?
Yeah, well, yeah. And
I'm joking. For some people listening, so please continue. Please continue.
Yeah. So I worked at a school, and I had to get like a morning off to do these theatre sessions. And Ademola was like a great support in me just making that step and just talking about it with my head teachers and my employers openly. And then now, yesterday was actually my last day at the school, so I've officially left. And now I'm going on to push on and like push further the writing, the acting, and even the modeling, just kind of making sure that I am chasing what I want. Like I said to your group, like, chase what you want. People often say, well, my father often says that, he says that youth is wasted on the young and wisdom wasted on the old. Because then when you're young, you kind of think, I've got time, and you might not utilize it. When you're older, you have all this wisdom and all this sage, but it's too late to do anything about it. So while I'm here and while I'm present, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm just being proactive and chasing it, because I have a huge passion for the arts and for performing. So while I'm here, I'm just going to make the most of it and just kind of utilize myself to the best of my like, God-given ability.
I'm just writing that quote down as well. I like that one. So powerful.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for sharing that. And the reason why I'm saying that is, who's this for? So certainly for the young Black boys, young Black men that are out there, it's about, you've got the thing that you're passionate about. Go for it. Don't do a pretend trial run kind of life. And my heart is also speaking to the parents or the guardians and the older generation, wherever you're at on that older generation. So when I say older, I don't mean that, you know what I'm saying. I'm saying that respectfully, the older generation. It's Alfonso took the step of talking to his workplace, saying, hey guys, this is really my passion. And I'm going to be taking a Tuesday off so I can go and follow my passion. That took courage. It wasn't always easy, but it took courage for him to take that step. And yesterday was his last day in that workplace, because he's now looking ahead to the future. And for those of you that are listening to this, go for the things you want. You'll be surprised what shows up.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised what shows up. And what you will need is just the support to take that step. And often people talk themselves out of their dreams. They talk themselves out of their visions and what they want from life. And they settle. They live some kind of pretend settle life. And then it gets to an age like Alfonso just quoted his dad, like, then they've got wisdom that's wasted on the old. Because now they know that they wish they did what they wanted to do 20 years ago, but like now it's too late. or like now it's a lot harder, or it's further along.
Yeah, it's never too late, but it can be a lot more difficult to kind of do now. So for sure.
Good point. Never too late. It's just more challenging, more obstacles to navigate. Now you have that wisdom, and it's 20 years down the line. Go for it now. If it resonates with you, go for it now. It's something that I've learned for myself, that in life you have to make these quote unquote challenging choices. It looks challenging now, but after you step, you're like, whoa, okay. Because life doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it does. Always makes sense going forward. When you're making those choices, making those phone calls, having the meeting with the head teacher and say, hey, I gotta go. Having a meeting with your boss or manager at work. When I quit where I was working in 2019, that initial thought of this place isn't fulfilling me, I know I need to leave. That was a challenging thought. And then taking it from a thought to, well, what actions do I take to make it reality? And I wrote my resignation letter before I was ever going to give it. Just writing that letter was very challenging, but I wrote it. And now the letter was there. It was just, when am I going to send it? Those actions. And then having that conversation, it might seem challenging. Your heart might beat fast. Your palms are getting clammy, but that's the place to go. Alfonso, what more do you want to say about that?
Just what else do I want to say? So speaking of a school, so it was even harder because I actually, when you don't like your job, it's easy to kind of leave. Not easy, but it's easier to kind of leave. But I really did enjoy my job. I enjoyed the staff. I enjoyed the kids. So making that choice was even more so difficult. But I was also aware of myself, within myself, that I'll always delay it. There'll always be a reason not to do it. So just about pushing it. And there's a group of like really talented footballers in my school as well. And I was talking to one of them a couple of days ago before he left. So year sixes, of course, their last day was yesterday as well. And I was speaking to him, and I want to share this for like young black boys in your group, and also for just general adults as well. And I told him that, like, as talented as you are, and as great as you are, your value isn't found in your craft. Yeah, I was saying to him that your value isn't found in your craft. Because so often you see people put all their stocks into one thing, or their whole identity is just this one thing, but that's not the case. And it's so easy to kind of get sidetracked, or when things aren't going right, you kind of lose it. Like, you kind of go, oh man. And because you're so focused on this one place. And I'm not, okay, I am now, but I wasn't always in like work in terms of acting. Like there's a point in time after uni where I think for a year and a bit more, I had no work. So a whole year of just nothing at all. And I was applying, and I was trying to do all this, that, and the other. I had an agency, but I had just no work for a whole year. And even in that stage, I was still Alfonso. I got a job at M&S for a while, and I was doing that. And even when I was stacking shelves, I was still Alfonso. There's a point in time where I was even on universal credit, so like benefits for a bit as well. And even when I was still in that, I was still Alfonso. So I'm not Alfonso because I have a job, or because I'm doing well, or because I'm writing this or doing that. That's not where my value is. My value is in myself as a person. So I always tell people, like please, I think, and if you see the boys I'm talking about, great footballers, and I hope they'll be the ones to bring football home for us when it comes, maybe 2030, because we're still young. But I still say, like, yeah, your value is not in your craft. And as great as you are, don't let football, or don't let whatever it is that you're really passionate about be your life, because then when things aren't going well, you're gonna be emotionally, you're gonna be so down. Like there's times where I've had auditions, and as far as I'm concerned, I've done really well for it. And like, so that's where I stand on it, and I don't get it. But if my value is only found in that, and found when I'm employed and when I'm doing well, and I don't get a job, I'll have a very hard road ahead of me. So you have to constantly remind yourself that there's so much more to you than your craft. No matter how much you love it, that goes people in uni as well, doing a degree. I have so many friends who are still in uni, working hard, doing masters and whatnot. Even when you don't get the results you want, that's not where your value is found. There's still so much more to you, and you can still bounce back from it as well.
Well said. Well said. I think we've got your team here. So proud. Yvonne Gordon.
Yeah, that's the family.
Awesome.
That's my-
Ruth here as well. Searching
Yeah.
for Ruth. Totally. Now that's you're literally hitting the nail on the head. So it's about that character, developing that character. That's the key. Your value, your true worth. Regardless of what happens, employment, business, career, wherever it is, you're still you. And how you said is your value isn't found in your craft. Your value is found in you. Awesome. And talk about this part. So I'm looking at some of your notes, some of the things that you wanted to also cover. You said working sideways and diversifying, adding more strings to your bow. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So working sideways, that's just the whole idea. I think when you, in any career, we have like forefathers or people who've gone before us who have done really well, and like their work kind of lives on. And if they're still alive, and if they're still creating work, you might want to like work with them. So like for me, as an actor, for example, there's so many directors who are fantastic, who I might want to work with, who are doing great things. But I need to be a bit more, I'll say realistic and a bit more kind of just true to myself and say, they're at that level and I'm currently here at the start. So what can I do in the interim to get there? And the most obvious answer for me now is to work sideways, because there are people who I know who are writers, who are directors, who know how to use a camera. The whole idea of like wisdom and youth, I'm not old by any means, so I tell myself, but like if I was like maybe 15, I knew people who wrote and who could use a camera, and I'd like just meet up with them on a weekend and say, look, you write, we like to film stuff and I like to act, so let's just brainstorm ideas and make something and put it out. And it might not be the greatest thing in the world, but if we keep collaborating and doing stuff together, like I'll learn more about how to be on screen, you'll learn more about how to film and what cameras to use, you'll learn about writing and directing and what works and doesn't work. Just working with people who are like in your circle and who are still like similar to you in terms of like you're all hungry, you all want to make it, you want to get to a certain level, work sideways. Don't worry about I'm not focused on, people say to me that Denzel and Idris and all those people, I'm not worried about those people. They're great and they're doing their thing, but I'm not worried about those people or other high directors. I'm thinking about people who are in like my circle, who are not in my circle, who I can see doing great work, and thinking, okay, like let me reach out to him. Let's do this. Let's do that. Oh, she's doing great. Let's network. Let's do this. So just working sideways. The whole idea of that is just kind of just changing your lens and looking at who around you is doing great things that you can work with.
Brilliant.
Yeah, diversifying, adding strings to your bow. So I've recently, within the past year, started writing. So I started writing like a script. So my friend had like a opportunity that she saw, and she sent it over to me. And my friend Cairo, she's a great writer, and she's always been writing scripts, but I've always just been performing. But she sent me the opportunity and said, look, just write. Like you'll get advice, you'll get feedback from the group, so just do it. So I went on my phone, just on my notepad, just started typing and created this story. And I wrote like a little mini script on my phone, and then like I uploaded it to this page and submitted it. And that was in April, late March, early April last year. And then I just left it alone. I didn't touch it again, just left it, just kind of submitted it. I didn't get it. I just kind of left it, but I got good feedback from it. But I didn't even dwell on it, to be honest. And then sometime in December, so this is around the time, I think just before I spoke with 1,000 Black Boys, I had this sense of just this kind of real desire to get back into writing and to start just touching it up a bit. So I did, and I started writing it again. I started like kind of chewing it out, sending it to friends, sending it to industry people, getting feedback, whatever. And just by me doing that, it's now it's being performed next week as part of a showcase. So I'm doing a showcase.
Yeah. Go on, man. Well done.
Yeah.
It's a hand clap and a proper clap. That's really good. Well done.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And that's what Alfonso means about sideways and diversifying. So he's an actor, and then he starts to write, and it brings people around him that do other things that support his craft, and all of a sudden there's the growth, there's development. So look for other ways to grow, other opportunities. Like think about different things.
Yeah. Especially being an actor, you're always at the mercy of other people. So I'm always just kind of like, you don't want to always be sat here waiting to be hired. You have to like at a certain point be proactive and start to like make your own work. So if I'm not getting a job, I got to say, cool, what can I do? That's when I start working sideways with people and making my own work and do stuff that way. So just about diversifying, it's just about me not needing just to be an actor and waiting for the phone to ring. It's about me like creating my own work, networking. Same with that. I'm even directing. I'm into directing as well now. And like maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, I wouldn't even considered like writing and directing too tough. I said, oh, it's cool, but I haven't really like thought about it too much. But now I'm just learning the importance of just having a lot more to you. So rather than me coming here and saying, yeah, I'm an actor, full stop, like there's a whole list of things that I'll do. And there's things I don't even know about yet that when I discover it, I'll then jump in that and do that as well. Just about kind of broadening my horizons and just bettering myself as well.
Well done. That's really great to hear. And no, it's really inspiring hearing your story. Like I'm excited for what's next. I'm excited seeing you on those shows, movies, or seeing the big blockbuster with your name next to it, directed by. So I'm looking forward to all of that. So well done. And I also want to ask you about. Actually, should I welcome that? So along the lines of young people experiencing failure, they've dealt with setbacks, or it hasn't quite gone how they want it to go. Could you say a bit about that? And also just a little bit about there's no substitute, as you've got. There's no substitute for preparation and hard work.
Yeah, so I'll do. I think I'll link the two together. That might make it easier. So I think the no substitute. I was saying there's no substitute for hard work and preparation, and so that's probably like one of my biggest points, just because. Yeah, it's very clear. Like, for example, I was doing a show a few years ago now, and the show rehearsals were in like April, and they sent me the sheet about what we'll be doing in January. So we knew each rehearsal what scene we were doing. So it wouldn't always be linear. It wouldn't always be page 1 to page 4. Sometimes we start at like page 18 and do a bit and then change it based on the director's discretion. And I got sent this list once ago, months in advance. And at the time I was in uni as well. So I was in uni, but I had like an acting job. And I was like, I'd come home from uni and I'd be doing long hours at uni. It's like 8:30 to 6 every day. And I'd come home from uni and I'd just play FIFA with my guys. I'd just bang out FIFA, or I'd go out partying, or I'd go to a friend's house, or I'd do anything that wasn't the script, basically.
Right.
And I'd go to the rehearsals and we do like our warm-up, then we start. And then when we're starting, that's my first time seeing the script. So when everyone else has like looked at it and knows what's going on, for me, this is my first time seeing the script. And that's an awful place to be when everyone around you knows what you're doing. And to mention, I was the lead role in this play as well. So I was leading a terrible example, but I was coming in so underprepared. And you can't, no matter how, I'll say it, but I shouldn't, no matter how talented I think I am, nothing could save me from my lack of preparation.
Yeah.
Because I've come to the place without doing my due diligence. So now it's just me stood here in a room of 30 people, not knowing my lines.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of linked to. So no, it's not good. It's not good. Thank you. The team were very supportive of me, and it all worked out because I got into gear. My conscience ate away at me, my pride got away at me, my ego was talking to me. I was like, I can't let it slip. So I got myself into shape. But then for those few weeks where I was just kind of like taking it easy, I just realized that, yeah, you can't, there's no leeway for like working hard, preparing, even in terms of like, sometimes I see like footballers doing like training drills. They have like cones out or have like these like ladders out. They're doing all these drills. And I'm like, dead. I don't want to be doing that. Just let's get the ball and play a match. But that's part of it. Like all those things, before you play a match, you got to do certain things to be ready for the match. You got to do certain drills to prepare yourself for the match, or else the match will come and then it's you who's the least sharp, or it's you who's doing loose touches, you doing loose passes. So there's certain steps you do before you get to a certain level that you have to do. The groundwork is so important, and yeah, I'm saying the groundwork's really important. So then that links in with failure and bouncing back from that, because I don't have any more stories of my own of failure. Stories on my own in terms of like failure and preparation. Yeah, so I was doing college. I was in college. I was been 17 at this point, and we was all applying to like drama schools and unis, and being overconfident in myself, I applied to 5 drama schools / unis, and so I applied to 5 drama schools, and I went to 3 of them. So the other 2, I said, oh, I'm not going to bother going to them. I'll go to 3 of them, and I'll probably get into all 3 of them, or if not 2 of them at least. And done my auditions for all of them, traveled around the UK and done my auditions, and I got into none of them. So I had no uni prospects. And then a few weeks later, I got into an altercation at my college, and I got kicked out of college as well. So I had no college, I had no uni, and I was just pretty much just existing at that point. And I had nothing really going for me. So thankfully, the college brought me back in to finish like my final show. And college was done now, and it was either work or uni. Those are my 2 options. So I decided that I'm just gonna, I guess I have to work. Like, it's just fine, I have to work. And so yeah, it's kind of at home for over summer, no money, just kind of existing, going through the motions. And I saw an ad for Plymouth University, and I'd never really heard of Plymouth before this point, bar like the football team, but I had no idea about it. And so like I kind of like wrote them an application saying, oh yeah, I'll go through clearing, which is like with uni where you don't get into your first choice, you can apply to like other ones who still have spaces. So I applied through clearing, and also with that as well, could people be going through that? Don't be afraid of going through clearing, because I know so many people, including myself, who've gone through clearing. And at first I thought this is a bit embarrassing. It's like second place, or it's like the last resort, but there's no shame in going through clearing at all. But yeah, to continue. So I applied for this place, and they gave me an audition date. So audition date comes, I had to do it via Zoom before Zoom was cool. So he's doing it, and I got told to prepare 1 monologue. So then I had 1 memorized, and then I learned it properly, like went through it, and I performed it, and it went great. And I sat down, kind of like a bit like, yeah, I done well. And then the guy was very stone-faced, and he went, okay, and where's your next one? And my eyes widened, because I got told to prepare 1. But thankfully I had 1 just in the back of my mind that I remembered, and I got up and prepared it. I got up and performed it. But that's the whole idea about being like prepared is so important all times, because you can get asked things at any point, especially being an actor. You get told sometimes if you're in a rehearsal room and we can't like work out a scene or work out why it's not working, they might say, okay, just go into the stage and just do something. Like just they don't give you nothing else other than just go up to the front and do something. And if you go there and just stand there, that benefits no one.
Sure.
At all. So you got to just be ready, just to be daring, and also be prepared. Just always be prepared. Always be prepared. I always say to myself and other people that the rehearsal room isn't the place to learn lines. You learn lines at home in your own time.
Yeah.
The rehearsal room's the place to put into practice what you've been doing behind the scenes. Don't go there like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other, go into pages. No, we do that at home. Or
Alfonso, this is really good stuff.
Go on.
I mean, because this is brilliant. It just, can you see how quickly our time has gone? Like literally, like our time is literally like.
Oh, we've been chatting.
I know.
Yikes!
But no, some really great stuff there. Really great stuff here, and we're going to bring you back to come and talk to the boys on our mentorship program.
Yeah, for sure.
Some real gold dust there. For those of you that have been listening, we're bringing along our next speaker very, very shortly. I actually might bring him in before I take you off, because preparation is key to what he's done. So this guy is the first Black British person to climb Mount Everest.
Okay.
When I heard that, I was like, "You got to be on. You got to be on." Because that's pioneering, that's adventure, and you can't get onto Mount Everest and be like, "Oh, I forgot. Oh, I didn't pack my." Nah, you can't. No. The consequences are going to be dire in that moment. So I'm going to bring you back actually as we're going to complete your part of the conversation, because it ties in very, very well. And I just want to say that to the young ones, that preparation is key. Hard work is a part of the journey. Embrace it. Go for it. For those of you that are just joining us, thank you for joining us. I'm going to say this. I sound like one of those YouTubers, but I'm going to say it anyway. It makes a difference to us if you like and comment. I didn't think that was a big thing, but it does. And also just subscribe to our channel. I sound like one of you. Subscribe to my channel.
You do.
Please do that, because it makes a difference to us. It gets us to reach more people. So, Alfonso, I'm going to bring on Paul actually to come and join us in this conversation, and you can say one last thing to those that are listening as Paul joins the stream.
Cool.
Alfonso, go for it. What's the last thing that you want to leave us with?
The last thing, you gotta give me a question. To let me just kind of take off on, and then I'll end it there.
So it's like a young person's looking at this, young Black boy's looking at this. They're like, "Yeah, that sounds interesting." What's the one thing you'd like them to remember from your experience about life and your journey?
Your integrity is key. I think don't shift, because once you start shifting to make other people feel comfortable, especially like in terms of your Blackness, you're going down a slippery slope. So there's so many times where you'll be in a room with people. This is in a rehearsal room, in a workplace, anywhere, where people try and like make you kind of bend or test your integrity, or maybe even ask you questions that really antagonize you. I remember when I was in uni, someone came up to me and said, "Oh, have you stabbed someone before?" No introduction, no nothing. It just saw a Black guy and asked me if I'd stabbed someone before. So, and there'll be so many times where people like challenge you, and there'll be no reason. It's nothing you've done. It's literally just your race, and people see you as like one thing. People see Black people as like a monolith, like we're all the same. So we all have the same hobbies. We all do the same things. But you as a Black person, you are unique. You're unique and you're special. And just don't dim your light. Don't dim your light. Keep pushing, and seek mentorship as well from people, maybe in your church, maybe you have like an uncle, whatever, but don't try and do the road alone at all. So that's my one piece of advice. We have like
Perfect. And great things as well, because Paul, thank you for being on. It's great to have you on.
Good evening.
The thing about preparation is very, very key to you. And also with what you've done. So you're an adventurer. I know you're also a helicopter pilot. And in times where people said to you, Black people don't do things like that. Or what? Does that resonate?
Right. You're absolutely right. So first of all, good evening. Can you hear me well? Can you hear me okay? Fantastic. Right.
Yeah.
So yes, just following on actually from what you're saying, yes, there are some things, unfortunately, that you will come across all the time where Black people don't do this, or a sport in particular that Black people don't do. And there are these pressures. There are individuals who have preconceived ideas about you, and believe me, a lot of them on the mountain as well. A lot of them, you'll meet them on the mountain. People who have never seen a Black guy before. You get a lot of these pressures. But however, it's also, I think, and I was actually speaking to someone earlier on about this, it's also a prime opportunity. And this is what we need to see. We need to see that actually, because Black people don't do sports like per se, then actually there's an opportunity to be the first. Like to be the first to climb Everest, to be the first to win this tournament, or to do or such and such. So actually, I think we can actually turn that sort of not that negativity, but that I guess it is that negativity, and turn it into a positive for ourselves to be the first, because there's a massive opportunity that we've got right now that we're not going to be able to have in 20 years' time.
Awesome. Alfonso, thank you for being on. I put that exciting very, very well. But real pleasure, and I look forward to what's ahead for you. Thank you.
For sure. Paul Adebola, in a bit. Take care.
Take care. Nice to meet you, man.
Paul, thank you for being on. Thank you very much for being on. When I first, I know you messaged us on Insta. and I looked at your profile. I was like, what? Because I do a lot of work with people on mindset, and I've done it. Like I've done it in business, done it in sales. So I know this is key. When you said to me about climbing Mount Everest, I thought to myself, wow, we've got to get this guy on, because that's very, very inspirational. So tell us a bit about you, Paul, your background, what you do, why you do it, and how you got into the world of being an adventurer.
Okay. Yeah. So my background is I was raised in sort of like in East London, Walthamstow, by my mother. I ended up going to a military school in Canada due to some not necessarily unfortunate circumstances, but basically I was kicked out of 4 or 5 different secondary schools by that time. And yeah, I'd sort of knocked around and wasn't doing very well in school. And it wasn't because there was a lack of intelligence. It wasn't because I was violent. It was actually because I was probably quite advanced for my age, and actually was quite bored by school. And a lot of kids are actually they're just not challenged, not sort of like pushed any further than they need to be. So I went to military school, and I turned up, and within sort of like a couple of days, I was on exercise, and I was out in the wilderness, hunting, food and foraging, climbing, all kinds of stuff. And it sounded amazing. It sounds amazing now, but believe me, at the time it wasn't. It really wasn't. I got in there with summer gear, and it was the middle of February. So it was absolutely freezing, but it was an experience, and certainly there was so much to learn from that. I then came back to the UK and got myself up, involved in sort of what most young black boys do at the ages of 16 to sort of 19. Cut a long story short, I ended up in prison for a firearms charge at the age of 20. I served a year in prison because fortunately it was just before they brought in mandatory 5 years for firearms. I served my time, and upon 2 weeks of being released from prison, I was at a job working at a record label. And from then on, I just sort of packed on and worked very, very hard. In essence, really, sort of, I ended up starting my own business at the age of 25, and at 31, which was 2 years ago now, I climbed Mount Everest, which is pretty cool.
Awesome, man. That's really awesome. And also a very interesting story as well about your background, upbringing, going to prison, coming out, and what you're doing right now. I definitely want to ask about this. Tell us, what was it like climbing Everest? The experience, some things you shared with me. And I was like, whoa. You said about how some people in your party, but yeah, over to you. Like, what was it like climbing the tallest mountain on the planet?
Okay, so to be brutally honest, the opportunity for someone like myself was very, very short and slim. I mean, it's very expensive. It costs £120,000 first of all. Okay, so the type of people that climb this mountain are very rich, ultra rich. And for some people, they could actually, go climbing this mountain, and if they didn't get it all the way, they could sort of fail and sort of like come back and sort of have an opportunity next year. So the first thing for me was that, coming from my background, I didn't have that luxury. I had to make it the first time because I couldn't afford to come back a second time. So that was definitely number one. The number two for me was, I didn't realize at the time that I actually was being the first Black British person to have ever done it. I was just going to do it because it was an internal thing for me, something that I wanted to do. And I thought it would be pretty cool pub stories when you get back, really, right? But I came into sort of like the challenge of a lifetime, and in terms of the amount of people that die on the mountain, we lost 25% of our team. 65 of us probably started out or something like that, and then 6 of us made it. The top 5 of us made it home. It was a lot. It takes people's lives very, very quickly. I'm glad to have sort of summited, got up there safely, and made it home safely, which is the key part. And actually going back to sort of preparation, in terms of sort of doing the whole lot. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting.
The line's cutting out a little bit, Paul. Check with my team.
Oh, sure.
But the line's cutting out. Can you try now?
Did you get any of that?
I caught most of
I
it.
can hear you clearly.
I caught most of it. It's just that it was part of it. It's intermittent. Sometimes it kind of gets a bit crackly. Then it clear, crackly.
Okay. So if I try, maybe if I move, I'm literally sitting next to the Wi-Fi router, but maybe if I could go even a bit closer. Okay, let's try that. How's that? I'm even closer next to the Wi-Fi router now. How's that now?
Sure. Let's try this.
Cool. So yeah, so it was quite, it's quite a lot to ask for. And forgive me, you might hear the door actually go because I'm moved right to the front of my workplace. I was tucked around in the warehouse.
That's fine.
So now I'm not to the router. You might hear the door go. I'm still at work, quite frankly. But yeah. So in essence, really, yeah. So it is quite tough. And the amount of people that have done it. I mean, bearing in mind there's 7 billion people on the planet. 10,000. It's been climbed 10,000 times by about 5,000 people. So I mean, the actual odds of that are very, very slim, and the people that have done it are very few and far between. And in terms of actual preparation, in answer to your question, or what you were saying earlier on, yes, preparation is key. I spent 2 months just getting my gear ready, and when I say getting my gear ready, I literally I emptied my spare bedroom. I put every single item out on the floor. And I don't mean every single, people think, okay, so what, you got a pack of batteries for your head torch or something? No, I took every single battery out and laid every single battery on the floor and took them all the batteries out of my torches. I took, I laid every item of food, absolutely everything, every carabiner, it was literally on the floor. So if there was anything missing, you could see it. And thankfully, nothing was missing. So it works. But that was the level. It takes 4 years worth of training. So, in terms of preparation, you need to be in the gym, you need to be sort of working fit, you need to be sort of tested, lung capacity, all kinds of stuff. And it does take a lot out. It takes a lot out of you, but you need to be prepared.
Wow. That's very deep. So 4 years of preparation of training and two months of just packing your bag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. And even I remember, even still on the very last night, the night before I was flying out, I was still going and getting stuff and buying little bits, just to make sure that you have absolutely everything, because you need to make sure you have everything. And if you don't, things can happen. So cut a little story short. Everest has 4 camps, and then from camp 4 you summit. Between camp 3 and 4, I'd lost my team and I lost my bag as well. And that was actually because I only had oxygen on my bag. Cut a long story short, when
you say you left alone, what do you mean?
The team gets separated. The team gets separated throughout the day, and sometimes they're separated because of heat. Sometimes they're separated because of timing, availability, ropes, all kinds of stuff. So I was separated from the team, and it's quite a normal thing to be fair. And what I thought was camp 4 actually turned out to be a morgue, which was quite horrific. Yeah.
Whoa.
So when I turned up. Yeah, so I turned up at this morgue going, right, is it the place to camp? And he's like, no, camp 4 around the corner. So anyway, I'd gone round and continued up now, and I had no bag and only oxygen. And I was running out of oxygen, probably about 10% of oxygen left. And my head torch was in the bag. So unfortunately, I had no head torch either. And darkness had set in, and it was about sort of like 6:15 now. And it's completely pitch black. I mean, you can't see a thing in front of you. And you have to follow ropes up all the way to sort of like the top of the mountain. There's 5 ropes up, because in essence, really, there's 1 rope up. Sorry, there's 5 ropes in front of you, and they never really, they never cut them, and they never remove the ropes. There's 4 of those from previous years, and 4 of them will lead to your death. There's only 1 of them that's actually sort of like working and good. And you've got to work out which one it is in darkness and sort of try and, try to, yeah, so it is quite tough. And so thankfully I was prepared because I'd also carried my phone with me. So although I'd lost my gear, I actually had my phone on my person, and the iPhone comes with a torch. It really did. But the problem is the batteries don't last very long at cold temperatures. So they die off very quickly. So what I was able to do for probably about the space of 5 minutes really was literally flick on the torch, see what was about in front of me for about 3 meters, turn it off, put it in my pocket again, and just try and move 3 meters. And it worked
Wow.
for about 5-10 minutes, but after that, I lost all sight. Cut a long story short, I'd gone over this ridge, and this was the second night of the summit, and I looked towards the summit of Mount Everest, and because people were walking towards the top of it that night, they were wearing head torches, and the entire mountain was lit up. And I thankfully was able just to walk to where the lights were, which was absolutely brilliant. And you got to bear in mind, literally, the ledges are thinner than your hand, and your boots are this wide, twice the width of your hand. So one misfoot, you're seeing the other side really.
So as you're walking, so your foot is twice the size of the ledge.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting. And you did all that, and you did this, and you said, this is like 2 years ago when you climbed.
It was, yeah. So I summited in 2019 on the 25th. So 2 days before my birth, 25th of May, 2 days before my birthday.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Like, it's a real inspiration to have you on. Thank you for that story. Thank you for what you've done. I'm going to ask this because the line was cutting out at that point. I'm asking just so I understand and get the picture. And I also want people that are listening to understand how much of a big deal what you've done is. It's a big deal. You said that your initial party was about 65 people.
Correct, yes. Correct, yeah.
And how many actually got to the top?
So there were only 6 of us that summited, and
Right.
one of those gentlemen unfortunately lost life at the summit, about 150 meters at the summit. So only 5 of us made it home, and it's real. Anything can happen. You can get strokes, high altitude cerebral edema, high altitude pulmonary edema, where your lungs fill up with water, your brain fills up with water. You can actually go delusional and start going crazy. For one thing, the pressure is so low up there that actually like I said, your brain's full of water. And what happens is that your brain starts expanding inside of your skull. Your skull doesn't change actually sort of like its size and shape. It's not fleshy or sort of like malleable object, and it stays one size. So unfortunately, your brain is then pushed against your skull, and then put down your cerebral cortex, and then actually gives you major headaches and actually can send you delusional and or crazy. So people just walk off the mountain as well, man. They're just crazy. It's just they lose. Yeah. And it's absolutely horrific. And I wouldn't recommend it for anybody, to be fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, for those okay. I mean, I didn't know any of that stuff. But it shows me what you went through to produce that result. And from your experience, so for the young black boys that are watching this, or for those that will look back and watch this, what kind of advice can you share with them from what you learned, 2 places, from what you learned on that climb? So what did you learn? What are some of the things you learned that could be transferable life lessons? With the first question I'll ask. But let's go with that one.
Okay. So there's a lot actually. In terms of, like you say, preparation. It wasn't just kit to be prepared with. You have to know your route. For example, I knew the way to Camp 3 and 4, and the only reason I knew that is, granted, yes, a gentleman turned around and said it was round the corner, but it was the fact is, and it wasn't around the corner really. It was 6 hours away, to be fair, actually, and it was all through the night. But however, but I only knew the route because I'd actually sort of seen and prepared for it, not only on maps, on Google Earth, through movies, through absolutely everything, through stories from somebody else, through books, through absolutely everything. And if you have something that you want to absolutely destroy, or absolutely defeat, to conquer, to absolutely annihilate, you have to understand every single thing about it. For example, I knew those things about sort of the high altitude cerebral edema, the stuff, how your body's affected. You know, we have to take medication for a number of those things. Diamox, you know, as if from like, you know, what I mean? Probably my brain's so swollen, I've forgotten them now. But the reality of it is that there's a lot of things you have to do, you know, to take, you know, medication, but you know, to ensure that you can actually deal with the altitude. You know, high altitude chambers training, you know, all these kind of things. You know, so if you've got an enemy, if you've got something you want to conquer, if you want something, you want to beat something, whether it's an illness, whether it's, you know, you can do it, but you have to understand it, because therefore you can know where its weaknesses are, and therefore you can capitalize on it, you know. And therefore, if you know where its strengths are as well, you know actually where you have to be worried and where you don't have to be worried.
That's really great. I mean, so for example, for those of you that are listening, that maybe you're getting ready for your exams. So I know it's the summer holidays right now. I know some of the boys have got exams in September. So from what Paul is saying, preparation is key. So literally look at that. Is it a maths exam? Is it a science one? What date is it? What models? What do you need to read up on? What are previous exam papers? Just prepare. Just literally do that work. In the same way, when he laid out his entire, it took him 2 months to pack a bag, that level of detail. So literally plan out what needs to be done. Plan out what needs to be done. And I'm even also going to say there would be people who would have supported Paul with this training and preparation. So have people around you that would be able to advise you on the best way to get this stuff done. And when you do that, you can climb your own Mount Everest. Whatever that might look like, whether it's an exam, whether it's starting a new business, whether it's preparing for a job interview or preparing for a new role. There are fundamental things that you can learn from what Paul is saying that you can use. Preparation is key. The finer detail is key. Break it down. Would you agree with that, Paul?
100%. And I would also like to admit, well, not admit, but like to mention, the starting point doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where your starting point is. You could literally be in the pits, but you've got to make a start. Okay. Now it sounds, it sounds easy. It sounds, but in essence, really, there's a reason why sort of like your exams at the end of the year and your teachers tell you this is what's going to be happening on your exams at the end of the year. And it's much easier to make a start at the beginning of the year than it is to rush it all at the end of the year. If you did 5 minutes of revision every single day up until the end of the year, you'd be far better than someone tried to cram tens of hours, dozens of hours, you know, at the end of the year. You know what I mean? It's far easier to attack this big mountain in small chunks. You know what I mean? And if you've got your starting point, it doesn't matter. And I can prove the fact of this as well, because 6 months prior to me climbing Mount Everest, I was on a business meeting in Prague. I woke up about 8 o'clock in the morning, sort of gone to have a shower, and I didn't really feel very well. Just felt really sort of unwell. Anyway, 11 o'clock comes around, and I sort of like, I'm on a flight now. Got back to England by 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, I was straight to the doctor because I never get really unwell at all. I just felt really sick. By 4 o'clock, they've done a CT, MRI scan, all the fancy stuff, whatever it is, paid for private healthcare, whatever. I had to get it done. And by 7 o'clock, I was in hospital. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and then pretty much I was wasting away. They operated on me, did all kinds of crazy stuff on me. Put me on multiple drips. I mean, like I was in hospital basically for 6 weeks. So I was bedbound for 2 weeks. I was then in a wheelchair for 2 weeks, and then I was on crutches for 2 weeks. So that's 6 months before I climbed that Everest. So your starting point doesn't matter where. Like, you got to bear in mind, people have been training for 4 years. I have been training for 4 years. And then it completely stopped. And I had to start not only from where I started beginning from, like before 4 years, but actually I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to walk again. 6 months later, I'm at the top of the world. It doesn't matter where you start, man. It really doesn't.
That's amazing to hear. Like, it's inspirational to hear that. Some people might hear that and be motivated by it. Great. But what I hear was, you had a plan, and then there was an obstacle, big obstacle, and that could have taken you out. But you didn't let that stop you. You literally regrouped. You had to start back again, and then you basically conquered it. You did it in, you said 6 months, was it 6 weeks when you had to pray again?
6 months. 6 months. 6 months. Yeah.
Normally it should be 4 years. You did it in 6 months, essentially.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. So in essence, really, yeah, and it was even worse because I actually had to double down my efforts because the plan was actually to climb in 2020. But because I was sick, I knew that I wouldn't be well enough in 2020 to do it. So in 2019, I had to double down and actually put twice the amount of effort in and twice the amount of work in to actually do it. And yeah, thankfully it was a success.
That's awesome. For those of you that are listening, I'm not sure if you guys are inspired by this, but I certainly are. I'm sorry, I certainly am. And I'm definitely thinking we will definitely bring Paul back, and definitely if he's available, have him come and just have a conversation with the boys that we have on our mentorship program, because that's a very inspiring story. Because for many people, young people, even parents, maybe you're looking at something that you want to achieve and it seems so far off and it seems so daunting, and then the unexpected happens. That could be the time to give up and to just call it quits. But this isn't that time. And this is proof, living proof that it's not that time to give up. It's not that time to tap out. It's actually that time to shine. And that's what he's done. And that's just like, yeah, thank you very much for sharing this with us, Paul. It's really great to actually hear, because people can actually no, thank you. People can read this in a book. They can say, "Oh, that's really inspiring," or they can watch a film. "Oh, that's really very inspiring." But here is a real life example of it.
Yeah, I mean the key part is that there will, no matter what your Everest is, you will always have challenges. You will always have something. You will always have something level that you've got to obtain. I mean, it's not like I didn't wake up one morning and just like rat on top of Everest. No, I had to get out of my bed in England one morning to get into a car, to drive to the airport, to get on a plane, to go to Nepal. You know what I mean? And that's where the journey starts. You have to get up out of your bed one morning. You know, it takes it's not, you know, it's not going to be overnight. You got to attack your mountain. You got to attack it on a daily basis, and you got to keep going. And believe me, man, do you know how many times I woke up in the morning and it was horrible outside? It was miserable. For example, there was a time at Camp 2. Okay, I'm relying. You have to sort of like go from different camps up and down to acclimatize. And there was a time at Camp 2 where we're all acclimatizing, and we actually get hit by a cyclone, not a hurricane, a cyclone, and it's on Everest. And I mean, like, it's absolutely battered the entire tent. I'm in the tent. I'm holding the tent with oxygen bottles down, and like I actually got taken out by an oxygen bottle, like hit the body with it, and it absolutely annihilated me. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, wind didn't need it. Probably, if it hit me sort of any harder, I'd probably definitely would have broken ribs, and I would have to be sort of like, you know, medevaced out. The key part is that I'll never forget this as well. So the expedition leader, who actually I got on really well with, actually probably the only person I got on really well with, he opened the tent and he took one look at me, and we looked at each other. And we just started laughing because the conditions were so dire, they were so terrible that we looked at each other and we knew if we tried to tell this story to somebody, they would never believe how bad the conditions were. But the best thing you could do was double down, laugh at the situation, dig deep, and crack on, man. Because you know what, you've got to find, you know, when things go really tough, man, it's really tough. You know what I mean? You got to dig deep and find a way out. And humor's a great way. Humor's a great way. But just knowing you can make it, man. You know, yeah, you'll make it, man.
Awesome. That's really brilliant. For those of you that are hearing this, so you've been through 2020. COVID arrives on these shores, lockdowns, the news consistently. Maybe you've had to homeschool. For young people, your exams got cancelled. You couldn't spend Christmas with family the way that you normally would. Everything is different. Maybe you started a business at that time. Whatever it is, and so the cyclone that Paul experienced, this is your version of that. The key thing to remember is it's not a time to give up. one of the things that I always say is it's the gift of life. If you're still breathing, you're still in the game. Doesn't matter how dark it gets or how challenging it gets, but if you're still breathing, you're still in the game, so don't give up. So that's it. Just want to leave you with that. I want you to kind of just to really get that it doesn't matter what happens, whether it's a young person, you're preparing for your exams, it's been a tough year, something unexpected has happened. Don't quit. Don't call it quits. If you're still breathing, you're still in the game, so don't give up.
Do you know what? I totally agree with that. And on top of all that is that you come this far. You really have. You come this far. And if you turn around now and you give up now, all that pain and suffering was pointless. At least if you push all the way through and smash it through to the end, at least that pain and suffering will be worth it. If you just give up now, it will just be pain and suffering for no reason whatsoever. There just won't be any justification for why you put yourself through that. You know, if I got, I mean, do you know, like I said, do you know how many times you wake up in the morning and, you know, I mean, let's be brutally honest. By the time I came back to England, I was 55 kilos. 55 kilos. I'm 6 foot tall. Can you imagine how slim I was? Okay, like I was emaciated. There was nothing to me. Like I was. I mean, 55 kilos is. I mean, I can't work that out in stone. It's absolutely
Like 9
horrendous.
stones. What's that? 9 stones.
Yeah. Probably even less than that. Probably even less than that. It was so bad that my girlfriend at the time, who was 5'3", 5'2", if she wanted to arm wrestle, I would be very embarrassed. That's for sure. If she wanted to wrestle on the floor, she would have wrestled me to the ground. That is for sure. But it was so embarrassing. And if I'd have come home and I'd put my body through that, I'd not succeeded. And all I'd done is put my body through all that damage for no reason whatsoever.
Wow.
You know, you've got to, if you put yourself through all this hard work, all this effort, you might as well push it through so you can succeed. And the other bit as well, and in particular for Black people as well, is that it's like when you're talking about your shine your light, you never really know what and who you may affect. For example, you never know what dreams people might have that you might be able to inspire them with by doing something that you know by fulfilling your dreams. I mean, it literally is sometimes in life, like, you know, like this whole thing right now for me, what you're doing now is about shining your light. And rather than shining your light, sometimes, you know, it's very hard to shine a light. But then maybe it's much easier to ask people to not necessarily to spread darkness, because it's so easy to spread negativity. You know, generally people come up to me on that mountain and said, Black people don't do that. And I'm sure that there was no negative connotation about it. They didn't mean anything bad by it, right? But it was just that it's just that they were darkening the area around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't have to, you don't have to do that. You don't have to sort of, you don't have to sort of like, it's not to turn around and say, like, everywhere you go, be amazing, be awesome, because it's hard. It is really hard to get up in the morning and open that tent and go out there, put your socks on, put your other pair of socks on, put your inner soles on, put your outer boots on, then put your outer boots on, then put your crampons on, and then go walk outside, because it's really bloody hard, because it's minus 40 degrees outside. I totally get it. But it is hard, but don't make it hard for me by telling me that Black people can't do this or Black people can't do that, because you know what? I'm gonna show you that we can, man. I'm gonna show you that we can.
Awesome, man. No, definitely. Thank you for that. Thank you. And just tell us about your business, because you're also an entrepreneur. Tell us about your company. What is it and what do you do?
So basically, I was 15 years old. I sort of like started getting involved in studying hydroponics. There was a hydroponic shop in my local area, and basically, I just got really interested in and I turn up every day and sort of like get chatting, and I kind of knew what the industry was about. So,
what's hydroponics?
Hydroponics is the culture of growing plants. Culture of growing plants without soil, and so it's just basically growing plants like gardening, turns up, in essence, really, after sort of 15 years of working for loads of other people, I decided to open up my own business. And it turns out of 600 shops in the UK, there are only 3 Black-owned shops, which is quite scary thought. I mean, that's not even 1%. That's not even 1% of the businesses that are owned in the UK, which is a very, very scary thought. But yes, and thankfully now, I've done reasonably well. But actually, I'm reasonably successful where I can pay for climb mountains and do stupid things like that. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I mean, do you know what? If you, I know you're on Instagram. Send us the details. We'll share that. So you got a very, very powerful, inspiring story.
Yeah.
Definitely would love to be. I know you're still working. We'd love to bring you back. We're actually doing the program right now with a group of boys. It'd be great to have you come and speak to them and just share your wisdom with them. I think it'll make a difference to lots of them.
Do you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And actually, I mean, since I've got everybody actually here on live, actually, but you know what? There's one thing I would actually do. And like you said earlier on at the beginning of this conversation, I do fly helicopters, and maybe it would be nice to sort of like get together some young black boys together to actually take them down to an airfield to show them that they can also do this kind of stuff. Because no one told me one day that I could fly a helicopter. No one told me that I could climb Mount Everest. You know what? I remember being about 7 years old, and actually my teacher asking me what it is I wanted to do for a living, right? And I actually remember this. It's all coming back to me now. And I turned around and I said, I want to be an astronaut. Okay. And the teacher genuinely belly laughed at me and belittled me and turned around and said, you're not going to do anything. You're going to end up in prison. Now, she was right. I have to admit, she was right. But so will I be, because I'm going to buy a ticket to Virgin Galactic. I've already I'm already on my way down. You know what I mean? I've already got, looking to sort of get on, a ticket to get out there and get to outer space. So the reality of it is don't belittle your dreams, don't belittle your shine, and you can do anything, but you just got to see that you can do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Paul, thank you. Let's see how we can do that. So for those of you that are interested in, going for a helicopter ride, let us know. Even I'm kind of thinking, okay, all right, that could be interesting.
Definitely, exactly. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, now thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
Yeah, actually. There really is. If your dream is obtainable now, if your dream is genuinely obtainable, it's too small. It's too small, man. It really is. Do something absolutely insanely crazy. Believe me, even if you don't get there, the steps that you take to get there, you will be pushed so much further than anybody else. Trust me, you will. You prepare yourself. I didn't know I was going to be the first Black British person to do it. I just wanted to do it. And next thing you know, the steps that it takes you to get there, the achievements that you need, you just create a big dream and make sure it's stupid. That's for sure.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Yeah, I'll respect in touch with you. I've got some ideas. But yeah, awesome. I think
I hope that was a good. Yeah.
That was really good. Like, more people need to hear from you and think about different platforms to put you on, so people can actually see that it's possible. Paul, thank you very much. Sure. Real pleasure. Have a great day.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being with us.
Awesome. Glad I could help, man. All the best, guys. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. See you later. Okay. Wow. So that's one for me that I'm gonna definitely come back to and watch. Because there were so many gems there. Gems about preparation. Gems about just persevering. Just a level of resilience it would have taken to accomplish what Paul's just accomplished. And the different emotions that he would have had to have dealt with, the different thoughts flashing through his head that he would have to have overcome to still press forward. Yeah, I think that's a very powerful story and a powerful person to listen to and to learn from. So if you found that really useful, please put some things into the chat. Let us know how you find that conversation. Let us know what you're learning. Let us know what you're thinking. It'd be great to hear that. Gonna move on to the next part very, very shortly. But that was amazing. Wow. He came back and he was about 9 stones, being 6 foot something. So the pain that he put his body through to deliver that outcome and to achieve that outcome, that's amazing. That's absolutely phenomenal. And I hope that you've got from that. That resilience pays. The challenges that you face, that you're dealing with, it's okay. Learn from them. They're part of your journey. It doesn't need to beat you up. Regardless of what happens, you can definitely shine your light and just demonstrate that. And you can do things that surprise even you. And the last thing that he said is, if at this point, if your dreams are attainable, it's too small. So if you're going for something and it's more than like, yeah, I can do that, then just up your level, raise your game, go for it. So I'm going to share my screen with you very, very shortly. So literally, we're coming to we've got one more guest that will join us. Looking forward to having him on very, very shortly. So what I want to take you through is, let me share my screen with you. Let's have a look. All right, we go. So I want to talk about this thing that's happened recently with the racism, those that were playing football. It didn't come home, and literally how angry people go about it not coming home. So I want to take you through some of this stuff. Bear with me. All right. Are you still there? Hello, everybody. Hi, how you doing? Hello. All righty. Let's do this. No, bigger. Perfect. Right. At the Moller session. So this would just be like a short conversation, some really key points for you. And I'm sure you find this very, very useful. So thank you for still being on. Thank you for those who joined us. So the session's about, the title for this session is Missed Penalties, Motor Racing, Racism, and How You Respond. It's something that we're all seeing, all experiencing. And I just want to give you some tips, some ideas, a perspective that will empower you and still allow you to shine your light regardless of what happens. So we know what happened with these gentlemen. So the footballers, they missed the penalty, and then they were subjected to so much racism. And then Lewis Hamilton, with what happened last week at the British Grand Prix, the racism that he faced. So we see this continuously. It's happening constantly all around us. It's in our news. And I know that might leave you a certain way, especially with the boys that we coach and have on our mentorship programs. A lot of them are into football. A lot of them have aspirations of playing football at the highest level. And some of them took it to heart. Like they really took it to heart. They're very disappointed with the result, and even more so with the racism after that. So let's get some perspective. Let's have a look at this. I've also given this a second title. So one title is the Missed Penalties, Motor Racing, Racism, and How You Respond. Second one is what to do when they throw shade. So when they kind of throw shade, kind of like send little digs, what you do, or big digs, what you do. So I want to give you 5 things to remember. There we go. So 5 things to remember, 5 things that you can use that I'm confident when you use them or think about them will make a difference to you and allow you to respond differently to any racism that you might face or what you might see, so that you aren't impacted, so that your power and your light isn't dimmed and that your shine isn't dulled. You can take a photo of this next part. You can write it down. Go for it. This is for you. Being of value, this is for you. You can also ask me questions, whether you can put the questions into the chat, you can ask them right at the end, you can ask questions. So when you would see, so if we look at the footballing example, we look at the Lewis Hamilton example, or should I say Sir Lewis Hamilton, he's a sir, so you've got to use that, give him his respect for what he's done. It's first thing to remember is don't let other people's opinion determine your sense of self-worth. So don't let how people would perceive you, what they might say about you, or what they say about you to determine who you are, right? So that could be something that you experience on social media, what you experience in the working environment, what you experience on public transport, wherever it is. Don't let other people's opinion like dampen you and dampen who you are. I remember a long time ago, like I was 17 years old. I was in a choir in my in my old church. It was in South London, Bermondsey. It was a Saturday about 7 o'clock. I was going home after choir practice. I used to be a choir boy, right? You know, singer. I've got a good voice. And I remember this guy was walking towards me. I won't go into too much detail because, like, coming towards me, he was drunk, taller white guy, bigger than me, tall. And I just thought, this guy's drunk. I think I know what's going to happen here. Let me pretend as if I haven't seen him. Let me, in my mind, as a 17-year-old, let me go into this phone box and pretend as if I can't see him. Pretend as if I haven't noticed him. So I went into the phone box. And lo and behold, would you believe it? The guy comes after me in the phone box and he pulls the door open and he starts swearing at me, uses the N-word, and then he clenches his fists. His fists were massive, huge. And I thought, right, if he lands a punch on me, this is going to be very, very challenging. So I pushed him over with everything I had, just got him out of the way. The guy fell on the floor. And I just kind of thought to myself, should I give him some more? I'm being really honest. Should I give him some more blows just to teach him a lesson? And I thought, I just finished choir practice. You just basically left church. Don't do that. Leave him alone. So as I'm walking towards the station, I'm walking, and then I see this police van pulls up beside me. There's a police van, and there's a car behind the van, and there's people in the back of the police car basically pointing me out, almost to say that's him. I didn't quite know what was going on. The police came up to me and said, "Hey, hello there." Their conversation. We understand that you just assaulted someone. So, huh? We just been reported that you just basically beating someone up, that you've attacked them. I was like, no. I'm a 17-year-old. I don't quite know how to respond. Long story short, I got detained, got taken into police cell for a couple of hours. And it was only afterwards that they realized what happened. They were trying to find the person that I apparently assaulted, and they couldn't find him. So they kind of figured, we probably made a mistake here. They knew that they messed up so much, even though I was on the other side of the Rotherhithe Tunnel. They gave me a lift back to the other side to East London, basically, to make sure I go home safely. Once they realized that, we kind of got this wrong. And why am I sharing this with you? It was only years afterwards, because I was just like stunned, like, what's going on? What do you mean I'm being detained? Okay, cool, fine, let's go. I don't want any trouble. I was more concerned about, how am I going to say this to my sister that I came home late from choir practice? It was more my concern rather than the police stopping me. And it was only years afterwards I kind of realized that there was a group of people from across the road as I was walking, and all they saw was a young black guy pushing over an older white guy, so they assumed that I was the criminal. And that's what happened. That's why they called the police. And they were the ones who were back of the car pointing me out. And why did I share this with you? It's just that as I grew up, I could be really bitter about that. I could let those people's opinion about what they saw really impact me today as I grow up. When I walk past the police, whenever I've been back to Bermondsey, is that you can separate those experiences, people's opinion about who you are, from you. I'm still Ademola Adeyeba. And I think as well, Alfonso said something along the lines of, you're not your craft. It's like a similar thought process. Don't let how people view you, what they might say, how they've treated the footballers, how they've treated Lewis Hamilton, or other black people impact your power. Separate that, their opinion, from you. Their opinion, you, not the same. Please remember that. So racism is not a reflection on you, it is a reflection on the person that's providing and doing the racism, or providing the racist emojis, or saying the words. It shows their character flaw. It doesn't show that there's anything wrong with you, it's them. So I want to leave you with that as point number one. So don't let other people's opinion, other people's racism determine your self-worth. They're separate. It's got nothing to do with you. That's their problem. Number one. Number two, this can be challenging initially. Or you might even say, Adamola, what are you talking about? What do you mean don't you angry or afraid? Of course I'm angry. I'm even angry at the story that you told me. How dare they put you in a cell for a couple of hours? How dare they? You were 17-year-olds. So what I'm saying is, you can be angry if you want. But my advice would be, don't do the angry, afraid, or confused stuff. Because when you do the angry, you do the afraid, you've lost power. You've lost power. You've lost the ability to fully make a powerful difference. In terms of the psychology of it, it means that there's a part of your brain called the limbic system that's been triggered. It's where the fight, flight, or freeze mode resides. That's now been triggered. You're now like in autopilot and you're angry. Someone says something, you want to just take them out. So you've gone into that place. There's not much power there. It'll be more of the same, more anger. So they made you afraid, you make them afraid, more confusion. It just literally collapses the whole thing. It doesn't produce fruit. It doesn't make a difference. It's not effective, not powerfully effective. And remember what I said at the start of the session is that racism ultimately is not about color. Racism is about economics. The slave trade was a trade initially, and then the racism was used to justify it. If you are angry, afraid, or confused, you lose sight of that. You lose sight of what you could really do and how you could really respond. If you look at the response of the footballers and also Lewis Hamilton, the response after they received the racist abuse was very powerful. Leadership, true power. So what I say is, be calm, focused, and strategic. So if you might experience that, be calm, be focused, be strategic. It's like somebody who's on a battlefield. One person's angry, one person's calm, focused, and strategic. I'm pretty confident the person that's calm, focused, and strategic will take that person out. Because they've got more access to their faculties, can make better choices, make better decisions, and ultimately win the game. So that's what I want to say. So point number 3, be calm, focused, and strategic. It's really important. So even in that moment, maybe you're experiencing it yourself, you might get triggered, you feel like, pardon me, like just kind of slapping somebody on their face, giving them a good doof. If you just calm, measure, focused, it gives you the power to make a real difference in that moment. And you do things that in hindsight, you look back on and you can be proud of it. Point number 4, it ties in. Remember, I'm thinking about the football now. So the footballers, they missed the penalties. So they didn't achieve the outcome. So it was a type of failure in terms of not winning that final. And I say the word failure deliberately, so you might get triggered by that. But it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the journey. Failure might be that the penalties were missed. From what Paul has just shared, Paul shared that it's normally a 4-year preparation to climb Mount Everest, normally 4 years. And before the climb, he goes into hospital for 6 weeks. He now has only 6 months to do 4 years' work. 6 months. He could have viewed that 6 weeks in hospital as complete failure and called it quits and given up. The countless times when on his journey where there was the cyclone that hit their camp, all of that, forgetting his torch in his bag, all of that, being disconnected from his crew. So basically being alone on Mount Everest in the dark. Can you imagine that? He's alone on the highest mountain in the world in the dark by himself. That could be a failure, but remember, it's this thing called failure is part of the journey. It's part of the journey. So personal example for you. So 2019, I resigned from the place I was working. I went into 1000 Black Boys Fully, along with my other company, the coaching company, so Get Hench. We launched properly on the 14th of December, 2019. and we were going to take over the world. So 2020 was going to be like 2020 vision. We got all these plans. We had our office at Liverpool Street. We were going to do all of these live events. Everything was planned, everybody. And then they got to March 23rd, 2020, lockdown because of COVID. Shut the country down. So I'm like, what? But we got all these plans. We got this office. We got everything lined up. Like, what do you mean we can't do live events? So we had to respond to that. Even this, we planned to be doing live events for 1,000 Black Boys. That was always the plan. From last year, we couldn't do that. We could not do that. You could class that as, oh, we failed. We like our vision was too big. But actually, we learned from that. We looked at what else we could do, because believe it or not, going online, we're more used to it now. But at the start of last year, it wasn't something that we even thought about. So what we see now wasn't what we thought about at this point or that point last year. But now we're good with it. Like, we know how it works. Because of that challenge and that perceived failure, it allowed us to be here today. So failure is part of the journey. Dust it off and shine. Failure is part of the process. Yeah? The pain, the surprise is part of the journey. Squeeze as much as you can out of it and shine. Dust yourself off and let's go again. That's number 4. And just the last one as well is, I've got shine as you face the future. So there will be other examples of and other situations where Black people receive racial abuse after a football game or after something in sports. You're going to see this. What I mean by point 5 is, regardless of what happens, shine in the face of it. How can you demonstrate your leadership? How can you deal with it? I'm not saying, just to be clear, be passive. I'm not saying to be like, oh, woe is me. Oh, please give me some more. I'm not saying that. I'm saying deal with it, but deal with it powerfully. Deal with it from a place of calmness, focus, and strategy. Not from a place of being angry, afraid, or confused. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying demonstrate what I've just gone through here. Shine in the face of what's in the future. So those are the 5 things I wanted to really leave you with. If you've got any questions, please let me know. If you want me to elaborate on anything, put it into the chat and let's do that. And thank you for going through that and for listening to this with me. We are coming to, where am I here? We've got a very interesting speaker coming up. Literally next, like right now. And I want him to just share his journey with us, share his story with us. And he works now with one of the biggest companies in the world. They're called PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, but they're called PwC. So they're an accounting, a consultancy firm. So as an organization, the company makes lots of money, right? They do lots of stuff. And for those young Black boys, young Black men that are out there, that maybe you don't see yourself doing a similar thing, or you don't have any reference that that's even possible. That's why Dr. Ian is here today, to speak with you about his journey, what he's learned, why he does what he does today, and also some of the things that PwC are doing that you, as a young person, can get involved with. So that's why he's here. So let's bring him on. Let's bring him on. Bear with me. Add him to the stream. Dr. Ian, how are you doing?
Hey, Adi, how are you doing?
I'm doing brilliant. Thank you very much. It's been a great day. It's been awesome. Great level of speakers.
Brilliant.
And literally great to also have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hi to everybody out there. Hope you're having a great time.
Yeah, if you are, pop into the chat. So just we'll definitely talk about what you're doing at PwC. It'd be great to hear what they're doing, the initiatives that they're up to. Because I know 1,000 Black Boys are part of one of their initiatives, which is awesome. And I want to give them a platform to shine, to talk about what they're doing. And I also want to start by tell us about you.
Sure.
your background, your story. How did you get to where you are today?
Sure. So yeah, I had to laugh when I saw the title for my piece. I think it was something like how a South London boy gets to work for one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yes.
And true to the title. Born and bred South London boy. So born in Lewisham Hospital, no doubt. Still live within a couple miles of Lewisham Hospital. So definitely Lewisham, as they say, the Blue Borough, born and raised. And grew up there. My background is from Caribbean family, so Jamaican family, single parent households. You know how the story goes, all of that kind of stuff. Not a lot of money. Went to one of those primary schools that's at the bottom of the league table, and you know had to deal with all of that. But positive sides were, you know, I had a very supportive family. Great mom, great grandmother, big sort of wider family, lots of cousins, all of that kind of stuff. You know, and found a sort of very supportive place in the community. As a teenager, sort of went off, you know, did the whole thing of going off the rails for a little bit. Got involved in all sorts. But as a teenager, particularly my late teenage years, had a bit of a change of heart. Sort of the spiritual aspects of my life came to light. And I sort of got myself onto a better road. So funnily enough, just on my way back, so I was speaking at another event today, and just on the way back, I was sitting with somebody in the train, and they asked sort of, you know, what were you planning to do? What was your sort of career plans when you were a teenager? And as it goes, the plan was to go into rap music. So I was a rapper. So I spent my time making beats, rapping, all of that kind of stuff, and you know, I was heavily into the music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not a lot of people did. The person who I was talking to almost couldn't believe it. But you know, if you were somebody that knew me from back in the day, you would find it hard to believe that anybody thought anything else about me. You know, right. And so, you know, people are like, how comes you've ended up where you've ended up? You know, we thought that this is where you were going. But you know, life has its twists, its turns, the paths that it takes. And as the story goes, you know, so originally having planned to go into music and all of that, effectively, I ended up in a position where I got connected with a church in Southeast London who was very, very in touch with the community, and they were putting on a lot of programs for young people. So they were putting on, you know, young people could come in to learn how to dance, they could learn how to sing, they could learn how to produce music, and I got myself involved in teaching young people how to make beats and teaching them how to rap, all of that kind of stuff. And I really liked it, you know. So they said to me, we've got some work happening in the schools as well. Why don't you go into the schools and work with the young people there? And so we were working with schools who were, you know, they had like lots of young people that were getting in trouble in these days, you know, and so they would send those young people to us. We'd make music with them, but we'd also teach them, help them to sort of get their minds thinking more, you know, in a more productive way, and help them to not get themselves kicked out of school, basically, if you can just put it like that. You know, so we just sit them down, have that kind of discussion with them, you know, to say, come on, bro, you know, don't get yourself kicked out of school. It's really not worth it. These are not, you know, how these things go. And that was quite meaningful for me, because as an example, there was a guy that I went to school with. So we both lived in Brockley. We used to walk home together from school. We used to sit next to each other in class. You know, we were good friends. And this friend of mine, he got into a situation where he did get excluded from school, and it was for a really, really ridiculous reason. It was just, you know, over a bag of sweets. It's not even that he did anything wrong, but you know, you talked about some of the sort of racist things that sometimes take place in the way that the cookie crumbles. He got himself into trouble unnecessarily. It looked like it was a sort of racial prejudice issue, and he ended up getting kicked out of school. He went the wrong way, you know. He ended up in a situation where he ended up burgling a house. The man came back, he hit the man died. Oh, you wow. know, this friend of mine was he ended up, you know, going to prison. Apparently, you know, there were rumors that he'd escaped. He was like most wanted juvenile in Europe, you know, at one stage on the news. But that was my friend. You know, he wasn't the kind of character who really, he didn't have trouble. He didn't really want to be a troublesome character. Just things were falling the wrong way for him, you know. and he ended up in a bad situation. You know, people said when he escaped, you know, the rumor was that he was hiding in my loft. That's how close we were, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I've seen what can happen when you get onto the wrong side of things, you know. And having the opportunity to work with young people, to make a difference to them, really meant a lot to me. And I could use my talents, my gifts to really help them. So that's how I ended up basically getting into the school scene, working with young people. From there, started working with young people as well, who got caught up in the youth offending system. Did all of that, and I really got into it, you know. So I went, I took a master's. My first degree had been in engineering, but I then went and took a master's in education to really sort of build out my knowledge in how to do this well, and to sort of bring myself to the front of that field. And ended up in a position where I was managing these services. You know, I had a big team in the end, sort of, you know, 40 people, and we were working with young people all over London and Kent, you know, sort of 50 schools, loads of different youth services, councils, getting lots of national government funding. And, you know, I'd sort of got myself into a management role. I'd also got myself into a position where I was the man who was bringing in a lot of the money. So, you know, at the time, the CEO had said to me, why don't you come and help me to manage the services, and why don't you have a go at raising money? And it turned out that the first 3 attempts I had at raising money were all successful, you know. And so, you know, it's sort of like £5,000 on the first one, then, you know, £10,000, and, you know, another £5,000. And so it seemed like a sort of like I had a gift for it. But then as the story goes on, as mentioned, sort of we grew this big team, managed to run sort of a big award-winning program for young people and families. And so recognized by all sorts of departments, and, you know, Department for Education put in like the parenting program that I was running as sort of like best practice in the UK for how to run sort of a parenting and family program. Lots of the stuff I did with young people got itself into sort of publications, picked up awards, that sort of thing. So I just loved being a part of the community, giving back to the community, you know, helping young people to get life chances, you know, very much, you know, this sort of thing, like what 1,000 Black Boys is trying to achieve, you know, making sure that people have got the opportunity to get their focus in the right direction, not get themselves taken out by, you know, some of the challenges at life and things that maybe nobody prepares you for, right? You know, certainly I saw a lot of people get taken out by things that they weren't expecting, or things that nobody ever told them about, or they missed out because nobody ever said to them, this is what things are like, or this is what's going to happen. So I managed to really find, you know, sort of those first 10 years of my career, just really enjoying being in the community. But then what happened is we had a change of governments. Those are the days of like a Labour government when they were pushing out a lot of money. Then the Conservative government came in with like austerity. You know, there were funding cuts and all of these sorts of things, and I had to look for a different line of work. But I knew that I was very good at sort of raising money and working with government clients, and that's the part of my skill set that eventually opened the door to the career that I've gone into now. So I moved into the city in 2011, and I was working with a company that was helping to bring funds into charities who wanted to deliver services for the government. And so I went up from, you know, I'd started, as I said, on that sort of £5,000, £10,000 footing. You know, by working in the charity sector with young people and families, I got myself up to sort of £600,000, £700,000 opportunities. And when I came into the city, that's when I started to cut my teeth on sort of £1 million plus activities. So the first contract I won there was a £1.2 million fund, which was to help young people who were at risk of dropping out of education. And so we worked with 8 charities to
How much was that?
1.2 million.
Right. For those of you that are listening, it's possible. From the humble beginnings of South London, Lewisham, to go into that. So it's certainly possible.
Yeah, so we started out with £5,000 win, but then a few years later, managed to get my first £1 million win. That was 1.2 million. And went on, and it grew from there. I worked hard. I ended up getting promoted in that workplace to sort of the head of my department. And my boss at the time set me a target. He said, "Look, I want you to get me £8 million worth of work this year. So get me £8 million for your first year." and I want £1 million of that to go into the bank account this year. But by God's grace, within, I think it was 8 months, I brought £16 million, and £3 million had gone into the bank account. And at that point, he begged me to stop bringing in money because he couldn't organize himself fast enough to do what needed to be done with it. So at that point, another door opened, and I went to work with a FTSE 250 company, which was called Interserve at the time, and that put me into, I was with some of the bigger fish now, seeing how these people work. I was working with all of these people that were sort of commanding 500, 800, £1,000, £2,000 a day, learning how to work with them, and I worked with that team, and that team, as a part of that team, we won £700 million worth of contracts to help deliver services to people who were coming out of prison, who needed help to make that transition out of prison back into society. And so that opened lots of doors for me. I went to work for one of the biggest companies in my field at the time. And so there I sort of cut my teeth on running much bigger deals. And sort of probably one of the jewels in the crown of my career was working for them, pulling off, we pulled off sort of £160 million on a really important contracting opportunity, including I led on a £50 million contract. So we've gone from sort of £1 million up to £50 million at this point. And yeah, things kept on going well. Unfortunately, in 2019, the company I was working for at the time got bought out, so I faced a redundancy. They clearly didn't want to win any more money, so they asked me to leave. And I went out into sort of interim contracting for a little while. Managed to command myself a sort of good day rate there. And in the meantime, I sort of had ongoing conversations with PwC. So PwC and I had sort of having discussions for several months. And after a few months, they decided, after 5 interviews, they decided that they would stop interviewing me, give me a chance to come in, and we could just work out how we can work together. So I've been with PwC now for almost 2 years, where I work with them to help them to grow their business, or helping them to do a range of things, helping them to win business around things like Brexit, supporting businesses to recover from the coronavirus pandemic, transitions around net zero, so sort of environmental change. And currently at the moment, I'm working on stuff around cloud technology transformation. And this week we just had some really good news. We've won some contracts with sort of 4 major banks. And so that's what I do now, is to sort of help PwC, which is, as you mentioned, one of the world's biggest privately owned companies. It sort of has a global revenue of about $40 billion plus. The UK division makes about £4 billion a year, just over. And yeah, so I'm working with that business now, helping it to grow and to develop. So that's a whistle-stop tour.
Wow.
Of the trajectory.
What a journey. Really good journey. There's many things that I hear there. There's many ways I can go back. So literally from just 5,000, 10,000, 1.2 million, then 50, 160 million, worked on £700 million projects. So it can be done. Yeah.
It can. You're right. It can be done. It doesn't look like it, but it doesn't. If you didn't know that was the journey from the beginning, you might not have thought so. But step by step, it turns out that it can be done.
And what would you say, from your experience, what would you say to share with other young black men, young black boys that are listening to this? Maybe they've got a goal or a vision or an idea that they then rubbish and say, no, that's too big, that's too much, I can't do that. What would you say to them?
I would say that don't believe that. The problem with believing that is that probably somebody will go and do the very thing that you said you can't. And then you'll end up sitting there saying, hang on, but I had that idea years ago, why didn't I do it? Because there's always people that will say things are impossible until they're done. Yeah. Right. So today I was at a business talk, and there was a mention of the Wright brothers, who famously invented the aeroplane. But anybody who knows that story knows that when they were working on it, they were being ridiculed, because metal cannot fly, right? Metal is heavy. Metal is something that falls to the ground with a big thump, You know, in those days, it was hot air balloons, right? Flimsy pieces of plastic, gases. These are the things that can fly because the lightweight, you need lightweight stuff if you want to get up into the sky. Like, that's the only way. Whereas these people were saying, no, we're going to take iron, steel, things that are, you know, people struggle to lift. You know, you go to the gym and you've got to bench press whatever amount of kgs. You know how heavy, you know, a few blocks of metal are, right? Let alone an airplane, right? How are you gonna get this thing into the sky? You guys are dreamers. But nowadays, there's something called EasyJet, you know, and people just get up onto this plane. You pay your £40, £50, whatever. You fly to wherever you're going. You don't even think about it, right? People's passports are just filled with stamps from all kinds of countries where they've flown, and so. But that thing was impossible in people's minds until it wasn't impossible anymore. Somebody had done it. And, you know, so a lot of the time, impossibility is just talk. You know, somebody at some stage is going to go for it. They're going to figure it out. So why not you, right? Why not you? Somebody's going to get it done, basically. And you can't discount yourself. Like, you can't discount yourself, because if you set your mind to it, you don't know what you're going to achieve. You know, the only time you're really defeated is if you decide to be defeated and then you sit down and you do nothing. But that leads to regret, and regret's not something I recommend.
Well said. For those of you that are listening, also for the parents, also for the guardians, also for the sisters, whoever you are that's listening to this, it's that piece about go for it. Don't be left with regret. I'm also thinking about what's been said earlier about some of the other speakers, but just this ability to persevere. And Dr. Ian isn't saying that it's going to be quote unquote easy.
No.
Not quote unquote that you show up like, hey, we've been waiting for you. How much do you want? You want 4 million? And you go, that's for you. You can have that. That's your 4 million right there. Can you see the 4 million? He's not saying that. Neither am I saying that. But if you have this vision that you really want to go for, I promise you, go for it. Even today, this happening today was an idea that I first started to think about from about May last year. Has it just been like easy for us? No, it hasn't, but we basically stuck with it. So one, believe was what he said. So believe what you want, believe that you can make that a reality, that you can actually do it. And what I'm also adding, which I'm sure Dr. Ian will also agree with, is there will be challenges along the way. There'll be resistance for you to face, similar to what Paul said, but then you work through it. Anything more? Anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to say that you should just really work well on what's in front of you. You know, I sort of didn't say I have to go to this company and I have to earn this and all of that stuff, but I was looking at what was in front of me, and I said, let me do this well. Like, I'm working with young people, I'm working with families. Like, let me do something good for them. You know, let me do my best for them. And I didn't know that was gonna open another door for me. You know, and then when I went to work at the next place, I said, okay, well, let me work on, like, I've got this opportunity, like, let me do something with it, you know, and then it opened another door. And so sometimes you don't even have to work out, you know, all of the details in advance. But what I found is that if you can, like, focus on what's in front of you and do it well, it opens another door. So today you might be having to focus on an exam for a subject that you don't really love, you know what I mean? But, like, it's the exam that you have to do. Why not do well in it, right? Like, just do it well. Or you might start out, like, you know, when I first started to work, I was doing all of those, like, temping jobs and stuff. I was in the basement, you know, moving pieces of paper between cardboard boxes, you know, and doing all of that stuff, you know, and cutting my hand on all of that paper and stuff like that, you know. And I didn't say it was beneath me. I was like, okay, do you know what? Like, here I am, innit? So let's just get the paper, let's put them in the boxes, and then let's see the next thing that will go on. You know, and you do little things like that. I remember when I was doing that, I got, like, employee of the week or something, because it was like, hey, you just showed up, you had a good attitude. They were like, next time there's an opportunity, we'll mention your name, you know. And so then the things that came along to me after that were better than the ones I was doing. And you know, so sometimes just like, do something good today, right? Don't say, unless you pay me £1 million, I'm not going to get out of bed because I'm worth more than that. Like, do something good where you are today. your tomorrow will be brighter, basically.
Perfect. And Martin, so just from what Dr. Ian said about you don't need to have it all figured out before you start. You don't need to know what the end result in 5 years or 2 years or even like in a year's time. Deal with what you have today. Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. I love quotes. That's one. So you take the first step without seeing the whole staircase. It produces results. Here is a living example of that quote. A living example of what he's just said. This happening is also an example of that. Take the first step. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to get there, but just take the first step. Take the first step. And also, Walt Disney said that the best way to start, the best place to start is to begin.
Yeah.
It sounds really simple, but yeah, it's like the best way to start is to begin. So just start. And Paul said it. So we just had the first Black British person to climb Mount Everest. Just literally was on before, and he spoke about how it doesn't matter when you start, just start. If you're preparing for an exam that's a year out, great. If you can start a year out, perfect. But if you are at a place of being 4 months out, just start then. Just make a start. I want to just literally highlight that based on some of the things that you just said.
Yeah, but I agree. There's no time like now, and I tell you what, you work at somewhere like PwC, you learn that because so many pieces of work come your way. The best time to get something done is just now, because you don't know what you need to do tomorrow.
Exactly.
There might be something else to do tomorrow, so why not do today's stuff today? Don't leave today's stuff till tomorrow, because tomorrow might have something else for you.
So please remember that for those of you that are listening. And then also I've just asked, so PwC. So I know some of the things that they're doing. For example, they've got 1,000 Black boys on a program for Black social entrepreneurs, which is how I first got connected with you in this capacity. But what else are they doing for the community? What else are PwC offering? What's there?
Sure. So there's a couple of things to talk through. So PwC for the last 2 years has been named as the #1 company for social mobility in the UK. So it's something that we're very, very pleased to be recognized for. And so basically, in a nutshell, social mobility is about how you help people who come from maybe disadvantaged economic backgrounds to progress and to get themselves into a position where they're, in economically strong positions. And I know certainly you talked today, just in the time that I've been behind the scenes there, about economics, right? And the role of economics in society and how some things structurally, relate to economic disadvantage for Black people, for example. And, there is that need for us to, if you like, have a certain amount of awareness and focus if we want to overcome that. But from PwC's perspective, they're very keen as a company to enable people who want to put in the work, who want to, who've got talents, who've got gifts. They want to let those people find, achieve success in what they do and achieve rewards. So the business focuses on work with young people. There's a lot of initiatives going out to schools, going out to colleges to help young people understand what sort of careers are available to them, to give them tips around how they can get into some of the, higher earning careers and some of the more higher profile careers that are out there. It creates lots of routes into the company. So you might, famously, to a lot of these companies, you have to have a degree to get in, all of these kinds of things, but it creates other opportunities. So some people can come straight out of college into the company. They don't necessarily have to go through university, and you can do your qualifications while you're with the company. So we bring young people in, they can do their accountancy qualifications while they're with us. If you've got a degree and you want to come, that's fine, but you can also come before you get your degree, right? Just come. If you apply, if you can stand out from the crowd, you can get in. And so there are routes into the company that mean that you don't have to go to university, spend all of the money on that tuition before you can come in and start earning and start going into that type of career. Also, the way that we try and attract talent, we try and make it sort of open, make it diverse, make sure that we're going out to schools that are maybe from some of the more disadvantaged areas. going into the assemblies, telling young people about some of the careers that are available. I know for certain, I never heard about some of these things when I was at school. They're just,
Neither did I.
yeah, they're just brand new to me, right? And some people from, if you say, more advantaged backgrounds, they know about these things from when they're much younger. And so they can sort of prepare for them, their parents prepare them, their schools prepare them. And so they're always at an advantage. And so it's making sure that young people from disadvantaged backgrounds get the chance to hear about the opportunities, what they need to do, how they can prepare. And then in terms of how we select folk as well, you know, we've got things here where, for example, we're told if the recruitment team offer us a short list of candidates, and if I look at that list of candidates, there are no black people on it, I can send that list back. You know, I don't have to accept that list on the recruitment team. You know, I can say, look, this is not good enough, you know, for you guys. And the company accepts that, right? You know, you're expected, if you're a hiring manager, you're expected to challenge it and say, look, I can't see any black people on there. I can't see any women on here, for example, or whatever it might be. Go and get me a list that gives me more options so that I can get a wider range of talent in. And so that sort of like challenge is encouraged, and the organization is trying to be at the front of that. And it's also looking at the ways in which it can be better in those areas. So there's a lot of sort of positive movements that it's making to try and help people from different kinds of backgrounds have an opportunity to get into the space and an opportunity to come in and to you know, share in some of these, you know, fields where there are a lot of opportunities. You know, you might have seen some PwC has had a really good year despite the pandemic. And so it's had sort of a record payout for its partners, who are the people who sit right at the top of the business. And those partners, on average payout, the news is reporting this year, is about £800,000 a year for those partners. And so, you know, it's a place where if people can make their way into those parts of the firm, there's a lot of reward there. And so it's given the people opportunity from different backgrounds to come into that system and to see if they can navigate their way and have that sort of career. Other aspects are, there's something called the PwC Foundation, which is a charitable arm. I'm a part of the steering group for the PwC Foundation, and PwC Foundation basically provides about £1.3 million worth of sort of donations and support to the charity sector each year. So we've got some sort of key, you know, sponsor partners like Crisis, who do sort of like housing support, hospice, who support people who are sort of families and people who are near to dying, that sort of thing. We've got Beyond Food, which is like a social enterprise, which runs like a kitchen very close to the PwC office in London. I go and eat there sometimes, where they train people who might otherwise be unemployed how to cook. They teach them how to cook, and then they work in the kitchen, you know, and they provide like high quality food experiences for customers who are willing to pay those London Bridge prices. But it's genuinely people that otherwise might not have a job, might be homeless or anything. And then, you know, we do lots of other stuff for charities. So we fundraise through like cycling events, you know, so everybody's encouraged to cycle, you know, build up your miles, get sponsorship. We donate the money to charity. We do something called One Firm, One Day as well, which is like everybody gets some time off to go and help a charity, you know. Okay. You know, so they give us that time. You put that on your code, you put that on your timesheet. It's got a code to it, and you say, look, yeah, I'm not going to be at work today because I'm helping a charity, right? And you can then sort of bring back your picture or bring back whatever and say, hey, this is what I've done for charity. And we all showcase it. Everybody says, look, this is what I've done. And so we just find different ways to see if we can help people out, sometimes with money, but a lot of the time just with our time and with our talents, you know, just helping out to sort of boost charities who are doing great work, like 1,000 Black Boys.
That's great. Let's ask you this as well. So someone's listening to this, they're like, oh, that sounds really great. So how can they get involved? Who do they need to connect with?
So it's a great question. So there's a link that I believe will be shared. I believe that it's been made available backstage and at some point will appear for people. But there's a link that if you go into that link, you see it's called our Schools Careers program. And what you're going to see on there is loads and loads of stuff. So if you just go into there, there's loads of information in there about how you can, even if you're in school age, or if you're at college age, or you're at uni age, how you can learn more about professional services. So that's like, if you want to become an accountant, if you want to become a consultant, you know, you might want to become a tech expert, you know, and all of these kind of things. And you can find out how to get launched in that career. And so we've got things on there where you can come out to programs, you can listen to experts talking to you about what it's like to work in that industry, how to get started, and then you can actually apply as well through there for places on our program. So we have a certain amount of intake every year, and you know you have to apply competitively, but the firm definitely wants more and more Black young people to apply. You know, apply, put yourself forward. You know, get with some friends, family, professionals around you. Ask them how you can sort of tailor yourself to, you know, your approach to make sure that you put yourself in the best possible light and put yourself forward, because a certain amount of people will get through, you know, and you can see getting the entry pathway into some of those careers. And like I said, you know, these careers can pay very well, some of them, and you get yourself an opportunity, but you can learn, you can listen, and then you can apply. And so those are the routes into PwC. And there'll be other firms out there as well running similar programs. So, you know, it's not like this is your all or nothing, but definitely PwC is a great place to work, to learn, to develop, you know, and so very much encourage people to get involved, and you can get into some great places and develop some great experience.
That's brilliant. And I'm just thinking as well, maybe we'd actually send out an email to our database with this link to let people know this is what's available. Is there an age limit? As in, it's got to be, where does it start from? Is there like an age?
So I think it's a really good question, and I probably need to go and check my facts on the website. But I know that we're interested in people right from sort of school leavers age. So I'd imagine that's sort of like from when you're 16. But if I were you, you know, if I knew back in the day what I know now, then I would, whatever age you are, man, whatever age, I'll be reading these things, listening to these things. So like, say for example, so we've got like a program, we do like coding stuff, like we've got like a tech weekend program. Young people can come onto our site and learn about technology, coding, all of those kind of stuff. And I'll be listening to those things, learning them things, and in the background, doing my extracurricular coding studies, you know, starting to learn about tech, starting to learn about professional life. So by the time you get to 16, 17, 18, and you've done school or you've done college, when you come into your interview, you've got some really interesting stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just want to kind of come there and just prove to them that you can iron a shirt, you know, and then sort of sit there and nod and smile. Come in with something interesting to say, you know, I've built an app, or I've studied this really interesting area of thing that I'm interested in, or this is what I've learned, this is something I've done in my own time. And just being an active person, learning, going out into the world, exploring, give yourself talking points, right? You know, things that you can come into an interview and say, you know, this is something I've done. You know, you talked about Paul, he's climbed Everest, but maybe, you know, go hiking or something, right? Go and learn where you just climb something, right? Maybe not one of those big mountains, because you probably need a lot of skill to do that, but go out there, explore the world, have things that you say that I've been here, I went here, I talked to this person, I learned this, I tried this. You know, there's no time to, like you said, the best place to start is to begin, right? And you may as well do it today. Find something to do, start learning, start giving, you know, building out that range of things in your life that people can find interesting. One of the things that I would just give as a tip is, like, when you come into places like PwC, one of the things that they look for in everybody is what they call intellectual curiosity. They like to see that you're interested in things. You like to learn stuff. You like to explore. You're interested in new things, different things, wide range of things. And sometimes it's not so much of what you already know, but how interested you are in knowing, you know. And if you can show that you've explored stuff, tried stuff, you've been to different places, you're talking to different people, you're coming out to things like 1,000 Black Boys, and you're learning about the, you know, tips and tricks, how to make yourself a better person and how to position yourself. All of those things add to the interest that the interviewer is going to see in you. You know, so funnily enough, we end up taking people who studied subjects like philosophy or English, even if it's nothing to do with the actual college, simply because it shows that they've got an interest in learning or reading or thinking or exploring. You know, all of these things give you, like, they add to to your personality when you come into a setting like PwC.
That's amazing. That is really amazing, the things you shared. For those of you that are listening, so I'm now 41. I wasn't given access to things like this when I was 14. I didn't even know that these kind of things existed. So when I was 13, 15, was not even like, it was not even like on my frame of reference. It would have been like, what's an airplane? And you're talking to somebody who still rides a bicycle. So to have access to something like this is an opportunity. Make use of it. Get in touch. Have a look. Doesn't hurt just to kind of click the link, look at it. Oh, this looks interesting. Send through whatever you need to send through, and that's it. The best place to start, or the best time to start, is to begin. The best way to start is to begin. Just begin. So this is one of the things we brought to you as an opportunity for you to look at. So please make use of it. And Dr. Ian mentioned it as well. When he was young as well, about 13, 14, your age, maybe even like a bit older, he didn't have access to this. He didn't know about this.
No, it was a complete mystery to me. Ade, these things I've learned by accident, and I sort of wish I'd known about them, because otherwise I could have put myself in a better position. You know, I remember the day when I started working with Interserve, right? You know, and everybody, I'm saying like everybody that was around me, they were like, the minimum they're earning is like £500 a day, right? And then like the guy that's like supervising me is like, okay, he's £800 a day, and the woman that's supervising him, she's like £1,000 a day. And I'm just looking around and saying, when am I going to get £500 a day? Right? But there's a part of the world where that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know. But I didn't know. Nobody told me. I would have probably done some more preparation, you know, to get myself into those places and learn how they operate. If I could have done that earlier, you know, who knows, you know. And so, and it goes upwards from there, right? You know, and so sometimes people might think, well, yeah, I'm a South London boy, you know, I've watched my mum earn, you know, I don't know, £7 an hour, £10 an hour, doing whatever, you know, first job, second job, all of these kind of things. And you think, you know, you hear that sort of money and you think, nah, you know, until one day suddenly you find yourself in that environment, and then you've got to learn what the rules of engagement are in there. You've got to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet in a place like that, you know, and not be intimidated by it, you know. And so the earlier, you know, a young person can start to understand, you know, the value that is placed on certain expertise, certain knowledge, certain ability to work. You don't have to be a rapper to have money, right? You don't have to be a footballer to have a well-paid career, for example. You know, you may or may not earn as much as a footballer doing whatever career you get into, but, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, it's not just on one level you either work for, you know, work delivering, you know, Deliveroo, or you're a lawyer. You know, there's opportunities and there's different things you can get into along the way, and it's just learning what's out there and positioning yourself from as early as possible.
Brilliant. Real pleasure having you on. Thank you for saying yes on your Saturday. Literally, our time has flown by. Just in closing, anything you want to say? Anything you want to say to those that are listening and to those that will watch this back?
Yeah, just, you know, be focused. You know, you're going to have a lot of distractions. I heard Ade speaking before about sometimes, you know, issues of racism, things that you're going to face. You know, those things will happen, but don't let them distract you. All right. Focus on what's in front of you. Focus on really doing it well. Focus on growing yourself. Focus on your learning. Focus on your development. Always make that resolution that by tomorrow, you're going to be, you're going to know more. You're going to be more capable. You're going to be more focused than you are today. If you can keep on doing that, the possibilities are endless.
Perfect. And on that note, thank you very much. Great to have you on. We'll share this link. Maybe we'll just create like an email and we'll send it out to our database. Say, hey, look, listen, check this out. For your young people, definitely have a look at this. But thank you very much, and have a great Saturday evening.
Thank you, Ade. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Right. So there we go. Let's go on here. Let's have a look. Move. There we go. Awesome. We're coming to the close of this, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to look to wrap this up in 8 minutes. I'm going to share my screen with you. So I'd like to come back and get the contacts. Have a look at those who've spoken today. Think about what you can learn from them. It's very, very important. Let's close this out. I'm going to summarize the key points. So really briefly, so if I go from Dr. Ian, the power of focus, and literally start from now. You don't need to have the whole thing figured out before you begin. Just make a start. Makes a huge difference. And there's lots of opportunities with PwC, one of the biggest companies in the world, for those that are interested, to inquire and go down that route. The link is right there for you. Paul, about preparation. Preparation is key, why it's important. He spent 2 months packing a bag. That's the level of detail. And if you can bring that level of detail to what you're doing, whether it's an exam or revision or business plan or an idea, you can make it a reality. Alfonso spoke about great thing he said, youth is wasted on the young and wisdom is wasted on the old. So don't wait, similar to what Dr. Ian said, don't wait until you've got 20, 30 years experience. Start with the energy that you've got right now, with the youth you've got right now. Start from now. Make a start from now. And something that he said is about how who you are is not determined by your craft. You're more than your craft. You are you. And then Richard and Jordan at the start, really powerful story. Powerful story about how you can, from Jordan's story, you don't need to follow the stereotype. You can be as successful with what you want, doing things that are legitimate, doing things that are inspiring. You can do that. Richard's experience of writing the book, of being a mentor for different young people, inspiring stuff, inspiring stories. And you can come back and actually look through all of this. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. One of them will actually be that. So come back to watch this. I'll give you 2 quotes. We talk about future dates. Thank our amazing team. So our future dates, I'll start from there. Our next event is the 25th of September and also the 10th of December. We're approaching December already, ladies and gentlemen. In 6 months' time, 6 months, it's 2022 in 6 months. So don't wait till December to start to plan for 2022 or to start to make the most of this year. Go from right now. We might also put in a date for October, but we'll see. 3 tips for you. Number 1, come back and watch this in 30-minute chunks and take notes. Get the contacts and reach out to them. You need inspiration? This is here for you. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on our Twitter and Periscope, which is connected to Twitter. Come back and watch this. Number 2, and take notes from the session. Pick at least one thing that you can use. Number 3, reach out to the organizations. Those are the tips. 2 quotes for you. Malcolm X said, "The future belongs to those who prepare for it today." It's very consistent with what we said so far. So for that light of yours to shine, for it to shine bright, you've got this incredible vision of the future. Start to prepare for it today. Start to plan for it today. In order for Everest to be climbed, the preparation started before the climb. In order for Dr. Ian to be where he is today with PwC, it started a while back. Similar thing with Richard, Jordan, Alfonso. It's consistent. Maya Angelou said this perfectly. Maya Angelou, the poet, author, activist, and the leader. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. I'll say that again. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. So racism can't dim it. Other people's opinion can't dim it. Whatever happens in society can't dim it. Make it shine. So that talent you got, that gift you got, go for it. bring it about. So one announcement for us, actually, we've kicked off our new 1000 Black Boys mentorship program. We actually kicked it off on the 17th of July, which is last week, Saturday. And our next session is going to be on the 31st of July. So we're still taking people on board. So we've got space for 20 boys on that program, and there's still some spaces available. So come along and join us. The fee for the program is usually £550, and we've subsidized it to £97. So we reduced the rate. We've taken that hit to make it easier for you to join the program. The boys that are on there right now are absolutely loving it. So come along and get some of the tools that you need. If you know any young person that will benefit from this, please share this with them or their parents or their guardians. You can email me. That's my email address to find out more. So ademola@1000blackboys.com. You can also join our mailing list as well through our site or by emailing me. So thanking our mates. So I couldn't have done this without these people. Luipa, Joanne, Juve, Elizabeth, John, Fola, DJ Master P, and others in our team. They helped to make this happen. So one of the things I'm also learning is I can't do this by myself. So if you're somebody out there and you've got a vision or a goal, you need people around you to support you to make it happen. So I thank this incredible, amazing team. Thank you, guys. You guys are amazing, phenomenal. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, this one person, I always give this person a shout out because it has to be done. The support that I get is immense, and this wouldn't be happening without her support. So I'm going to thank my phenomenal wife, Pamela, for her support, for the planning, emailing the speakers. Did you like the countdown that we played right at the start with our theme music? Maybe I'll play that again towards the end, right? So she helped us to put that all together. Thank you very much, Pam. And also her two businesses, give them both a shout out. So she's got a company called Unveiling Pearls. They do workshops for young women on inner beauty and self-esteem. Find out more. Their workshops are amazing. And then there's Unveiling Pearls Jewelry, do incredible jewelry, statement jewelry, pearl jewelry that back up that uniqueness. And they're about bringing out the uniqueness of every woman. Phenomenal. So stay connected with us on our Insta and our Twitter, Facebook and YouTube. We're there. Our website. Thank you. For those of you that are watching, please subscribe to our channel so we can reach more people. And give us your comments, give us your likes and your heart shapes. It's now 7 p.m. So thank you very much. I'll see you in September. And we say be, or in this case, we say be your awesome. And we also say transform the world. We can do it. So see you later. Have a great one. Bye-bye.